Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Full-Time Mage. Start by getting the White Tiger Pendant. Chapter 61. In the bustling night market of the Magic City, Yuang staggered and ran in front, and Lu Jun chased after him with the blue light on his feet, and the two crossed the road to make trouble. Just seeing Lu Jun holding a long sword and looking grim, everyone didn't dare to get close, and left one after another, or called the police. Ding ding ding. Suddenly, the communicator in Lu Jun's pocket rang, and after a while, someone called. He opened it and saw that it was his sister Lu Mei, and answered the channel with a sword in one hand and the other. "Hello." A hurried voice came from the other end of the phone. "Where are you now? Are you all right?" "It's okay." He looked at Yuang's escape and said, "I was assassinated by the Black Vatican, and I'm running to their lair, come quickly." "Okay, I'm not far from you, I'll be right there." Lu Jun turned off the phone, watched Yuang heading towards the sparsely populated abandoned industrial area, and sneered. When he caught up, the other party didn't seem to go directly to the lair. Instead, he seemed to be frightened by the haze of fear. He lost his wits and went to the door to find some members of the Black Church for help. Boom boom boom. Just like now, when Yuang knocked on the door of a shop in a busy city, he shouted hysterically, "Open the door, for the sake of the Black Vatican, you can get a brother." Creaking, the door opened, and a strong man inside said vigilantly, "Who?" Then when he saw Lu Jun coming to the door with his sword in hand, he frowned, and quickly threw the elementary magic fire in his hand over. "It's raging." Before Lu Jun could ask any questions, he sneered when he saw the crimson flame attacking him, his wrist trembled slightly, and he raised the Zhenjin épée. The golden light was activated, and a platinum arc of more than 10 meters long crossed the flame, cutting off the flame. In an instant, it landed on the strong man again, and was split in half on the spot. The corpse exploded with blood, and all kinds of internal organs leaked out all over the place. Standing beside him was Yuang, whose forehead was covered with water, and his expression was dull. He had just met the savior, but was slaughtered like a chicken in the blink of an eye. Passers-by nearby screamed even more when they saw this, and the person who followed the two curiously took pictures shook his hands, put down his phone and ran away quickly, knowing that he had encountered a really ruthless person. However, quite a few people were bold enough to follow along. Lu Jun chased and fled, and were witnessed by many people, and they posted it on the internet to become popular. It's just that some mysterious force quickly deleted it, and then Lu Jun's cell phone rang again. This time he connected. It was Teng Yu's voice, who said anxiously, "Lu Jun, I'm coming here, you must not be impulsive. When your trial comes, I've caught a big fish, and I think I can follow the vine to catch Deacon in Blue." He hung up the phone and continued to follow Yuang. After that, they found several strongholds of the Black Vatican, all of which were brutally killed and dismembered by Lu Jun. The blood followed Yuang all the way. To deal with the beasts, they had to use more violent gestures and crueler methods to severely suppress them. Killing the Black Vatican is frightening, and you must consider the cost before doing anything. Yuang felt deep despair, and he felt like a god of death, walking from room to room and knocking on the door, and when he came out, the sickle was stained with blood. Finally, after Lu Jun killed 40 or 50 people, he left the urban area and went to the lair of the abandoned factory in a daze. This is a meat processing factory, full of a meaty smell. Collect all kinds of scraps of meat and process them into dog food. You can also buy a good price. Of course, it may also be used to feed the dark beasts, and by the way, to cover up the smell of sewer. The people in black at the gate were chatting and laughing, and when they saw Yuang staggering forward covered in blood, they couldn't help but be surprised. "My lord priest, what's wrong with you?" As if seeing a savior, Yuang yelled frantically, "Kill him quickly." When Lu Jun appeared in sight, the expressions of everyone in the abandoned factory changed, and they blew the whistle quickly to control Xingzi, and black beasts ran out of the factory upon hearing the news. Seeing this scene, Lu Jun sneered, and found his lair. He controlled the gold system star map, flicked his wrist, and the Zhenjin épée turned into a black flying sword under the majestic magnetic force and rushed out, shuttling through the night like lightning. Buzz buzz. In the blink of an eye, it turned into 7 platinum glows in the middle, whizzing across, like a white rainbow penetrating the sun, and the sharp sound of piercing the sky echoed over the flying factory, containing a powerful impact. Puff, puff. Under the control of Lu Jun's mind, the soldiers were divided into 7 groups, each of which pierced through several black beasts with lightning speed, and the sound of flesh and blood cutting burst out, and they fell to the ground in pieces like cannonballs hanging on the blade. Yushi more than nailed it to the high wall. Those members of the Black Vatican, the black beasts were like candied gourds, nailed in bunches all over the factory, blood spilled all over the ground, and some internal organs spilled all over the ground. The meat processing factory instantly smelled bloody, and it was reduced to a slaughterhouse. After a while, Lu Jun killed him completely, walked up to Yuang, lowered his head and looked down, disappointed, and said, "There are only so few people, I give you a chance, you are useless." Seeing this, Yuang had a nervous breakdown and roared, "What do you want to do?" Lu Jun said lightly, "Hee, do you know where the deacon in blue is above you?" Deacon in blue. Yuang was dumbfounded, and suddenly seemed to grab a life-saving straw, nodded quickly and said, I know, so you want this information. As long as you can spare my life, I will speak out." Hearing this, Lu Jun shook his head slowly, grabbed Yuang's hair with one hand, and dragged him to the abandoned factory. Yuang's scalp was tense, and he was in excruciating pain. But Lu Jun ignored it, stepped into the factory, and saw a strong curse coming from the darkness, and when he dragged Yuang closer, he could see the situation inside clearly. Several processing machines surround and cover the interior, a black and red cursed pool, rippling with black liquid, exuding a pungent drug smell. The cursed blood pool of the Black Vatican. Lu Jun smiled. This is something that can only be established by experts in the curse system. It is basically the production base of the Black Vatican. From here, black beasts are continuously born, cursing the black beasts, and even higher-level various commander-level monsters, such as the black bloodworm mother of Fang Shaoli, the deacon in blue in the future. The standard in front of me is not low, at least the cursed black beast of warrior level was born. If I guessed correctly, Shu Zayading was tortured here a year and a half after the original book, and was refined into a living monster. At this moment, the curse-type black-red stardust in Lu Jun's spiritual world is eager to move. This cursed water contains huge energy. It is highly poisonous to mages of other departments, but it is a treasure of heaven and earth to mages of the curse department. That's right, besides enjoying the blessing of spiritual realm, there are other ways to improve the curse system. There is something called curse substance, which is equivalent to the former being a multiple blessing, and the latter being a special effect. Of course, the cursed substance is far more powerful and weird than the special effects of ordinary spiritual species. This is Lu Jun's purpose, to let Yuang bring him to the cursed pool by himself. If you take it back and find someone to refine it, maybe you can extract the cursed substance of the Black Holy Sea, and you can turn your curse system into a powerful magic system. As soon as he saw the cursed substance, Lu Jun thought of Mo Fan, who is now a mid-level mage. Although there is no Tangyu to help awaken them for free, the high school urban monster hunting team opened their books early and saved a little money. A few days ago, they awakened the shadow system and summoning system, and came to show off to him. These two departments are amazing, but Mo Fan's main department. In the future, Mo Fan's shadow system mastery is to refine the dark substance Night Fiend from the Hall of Suicides named Bai Zhang, and incorporate the cursed substance Flash Curse Spirit from the Yadu Research Institute, before the peak of sublimation. That kind of mysterious, strange, and unsolvable means makes people yearn for it. Cursed matter is a kind of dark matter, and the latter is exclusive to the entire dark magic. There are curse, undead, shadow, and poison types. Finding any one of this type is basically a great success. When Lu Jun saw this pool of curses, the cursed substances inside should not be that exaggerated, but at least let him be in charge of the middle-level curse system. Now his water element and metal element are already strong, adding a curse element, he can directly pass the Pearl University dungeon. Ma Zhoulong, the great magician of Yadu, is too far away. I think there is a teacher in Pearl Academy who can handle it. I will entrust it to refine it then. Lu Jun muttered to himself, there must be a cursed pool somewhere in Bocheng, but the level is far inferior to the one in front of him. Immediately, he looked down at Yuang, who was holding tightly by his hand, and said with a smile, I heard that your Black Vatican usually tortures and interrogates here. As Yuang's face became paler and paler, Lu Jun said with a smile, then I also want to test whether your mouth is hard or not. Crash. As soon as the words fell, Lu Jun stuffed Yuang into the pool of curses. The black liquid with bubbles boiled and touched the skin of the human body, and a dark and strange aura continued to erode. Yuang began to scream, feeling severe pain all over his body. It's not over yet. Lu Jun ignored the opponent's struggle, forced his head into the pool, and said indifferently, "Who dares to negotiate terms with me?" Wu. Yuang soaked in the pool of the curse. His face was in severe pain, accompanied by suffocation and choking water. He always felt that life was worse than death. After a while, Lu Jun let go of his strength, let the opponent's head float up to take a deep breath, and asked lightly, "How about it? Have you thought it through?" Yuang just wanted to speak, but Lu Jun's eyes turned cold, and the golden heavy sword in his hand changed into the size of a dagger and slashed down fiercely. With a puff, a finger was cut off, and Lu Jun said indifferently, "Late." Yuang felt severe pain in his hand, and his whole body was about to be driven crazy. Before he could recover, his whole body was forcibly stuffed into the cursed pool again. During this period, he was whipped by the shock of the soul, and he was tortured both mentally and physically. Yuang was in a trance, and a thought arose: who is the Black Vatican? This set of interrogation techniques is so skillful. On the other side, Jun Lu was fighting with the Black Vatican, which had already alarmed the tribunal of the Demon City. In the dark night, a person with blue-black hair was isolated on a high-rise building. The middle-parted black-haired hair stuck to the sharpened side cheekbones. Coupled with his pale complexion, he looked like an urban ghost. His eye sockets are sunken, and his pupils are so deep that no emotion can be seen. The retro tang suit adorns his thin body. What is amazing is that he has a pair of black eagle-like wings on his back. The feathers are as sharp blades, and the texture of each root is clearly visible. The wings are now in a folded state, but the roots look extremely strong and quite plump. Nighthawk, please reply. The person has been found. I'm Nighthawk, report your location. A meat processing plant in an industrial zone. After the words fell, the Nighthawk of the trial council jumped down, spread its wings, and flew to the place where Jun Lu was. When he arrived, there was already a person standing on the dilapidated street washed by the flood. It was an extremely beautiful, tall and mature woman. The streets were littered with corpses, skinny and dark creatures like monkeys, accompanied by the smell of rancidity and water. One could tell at a glance that they were the guys from the Black Vatican. Lu Mei nodded to the mysterious visitor. Knowing that the visitor was a member of the Judgment Council, she turned around and walked on the wind track to find her younger brother. The traces were too obvious, and I encountered several slaughterhouses along the way. The Nighthawk followed, spread its wings, and looked down at the street. Passers-by who liked to watch the excitement did not dare to go forward, because these corpses were brutally strangled. Ordinary people would vomit immediately after seeing them, and they might even be unable to sleep for several nights, leaving behind shadows. Tisk tisk, I heard that he's just a kid who hasn't entered college. Such a cruel method. He admired it, but he also knew that the higher-ups were a little frightened and angry, and they were really unscrupulous and lawless. Killing those high-ranking mages or even taboo one or two, leaving the crowd to kill, but Lu Jun kills people in the downtown area, drags corpses in the street, and fights with open flames. That's all for now, and the Black Vatican isn't that scary even if they cut their stomachs open, dismembered the corpse, and deliberately put on a bloody scene. But there is nothing I can do about Lu Jun. After all, this is killing the enemy with justice. He is a good comrade. Just be more careful next time. In addition, all kinds of videos are blowing up, and ordinary people's internet is barely restricted. As for the nearby Pearl University official website, there is no need to control it. Only magicians are qualified to see the real world, and sooner or later they have to face it. As a result, Lu Jun's reputation exploded in the Pearl Forum. Needless to say, those prospective college students who have not yet enrolled, although they have not yet formally enrolled, there are often various chat groups before the university starts. It's just netizens rushing to show up. At this time, videos in these chat groups were uploaded one by one, 99 plus per second, all talking about Lu Jun, a new student. Everyone felt admiration and heart palpitations. Even before the person arrived, his reputation had risen among the freshman group, and his reputation spread far and wide, because it was said that there were several freshmen of the same class among those who died in the Black Vatican. They were really ruthless. Of course, this video is a mosaic, otherwise those cuties who graduated from high school would dare to click and watch it. As for those in the green campus, the old students in the main campus had no mosaics, and they all saw the full version, vomiting a lot. When did the young people in the ivory tower see such a tragic appearance? They saw Lu Jun in the video follow along indifferently, with his sword up and down, cutting from the urban area to the suburbs, without blinking his eyes, and the hand holding the mobile phone trembled. Regardless of the seniors who have experienced the experience of demons, or the low-level students who are still struggling in the green campus, silently remember Lu Jun's appearance, and label him as absolutely not to be messed with. I am afraid that this guy will kill him. Others provoked and quarreled and said they wanted to you, just to defeat you, but Lu Jun said to you, then you really have to consider the location of the grave. Then a nickname spread, Lu Rentu. Everyone in Pearl University agrees that when he is a lunatic, even the children of aristocratic families are taboo, and they get more information. Curse Department. Dean Xiao watched this wave of public opinion at work, smiled without saying a word, and let it go. The students in the academy still lacked a little urgency, and Lu Jun's little shock came just in time. Lu Jun didn't know that he had aroused great repercussions, and even before entering the academy, he had gained the fear of all the students of Mingzhu. If he knew that he didn't care if he was afraid, he would be so eager to show his minions and create a lunatic avatar. The benefits are too many. In this world, good people are bullied, and those with bad personalities get a better attitude. When Lu Mei and Yang rushed to the abandoned factory, they gasped when they saw the dead bodies everywhere. When they walked inside, they saw a young man sitting on a chair with his legs crossed in the darkness, next to a black cursed pool. His left foot stepped on Yuang's head soaked in the pool. When Lu Mei saw her younger brother, she immediately stepped forward, hugged her lightly, and said softly, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, it's fine." Lu Jun left his sister's embrace a little unnaturally, and said to the winged man behind him, "You are Nighthawk, right? I heard Judge Tang mention you." Nighthawk nodded, squeezed out a stiff smile and said, "Mr. Lu, in the Battle of Bo City, I have long admired your name. Now the loss of Bo City is not big, but it is the official promotional materials. It's just a false name." Lu Jun smiled politely, and when he got up, he kicked Yuang, who was like a dead dog, flying away. He gestured. "I have already pulled out the information from his head. There is a blue-clothed deacon in Shanghai, address. If you don't believe me, you can find a special spiritual mage to search for the soul." Hearing this, Nighthawk suddenly became serious, immediately dialed the phone, called the Judgment Council to assign tasks, and started to act. Seeing Lu Jun's astonished look, he smiled and said, "Of course I believe in a city guardian, and you have made such a big noise, you can barely block it tonight. If you don't act quickly, you will have to wait until tomorrow morning." If it leaked out, the deacon in blue would have already run away. Lu Jun nodded, feeling strange in his heart, like a game. After guarding Bo City, he got a badge, Bo City Sword Immortal, which was worn on his head, shining golden, function reputation +10, and any official mage encountered increased persuasion by 50. Afterwards, the official mages arrived one after another, and began to torture Yuang's information, and sent teams of judges to start the cleansing. Even Nighthawk left in a hurry, saying that he had caught the deacon in blue. The action lasted from midnight to dawn. Lu Jun and his sister stayed in the abandoned factory until Tengyu came over in a hurry, and said angrily, "Why are you so reckless? Let's talk about it when everyone is together." It's only been a few days. Lu Jun saw Tengyu's beautiful face full of exhaustion, and was moved by the wind and dust, and he was still touched, and he said, "Thank you, this kind of black church will be killed fiercely, otherwise the ghost will stay forever." Cut. A few lives are not enough for you. Tengyu raised her hand and patted Lu Jun's head affectionately. She looked at Lu Mei with her beautiful eyes and said, "You don't have to worry about having such a younger brother." Lu Mei showed a helpless and doting expression and said, "He has his own opinions since he was a child, so what can I do?" Seeing this, although Lu Jun was very well cared for by the two sisters, there was something wrong with the situation. It didn't take long for the two of them to join each other. Why did they chat so well, like girlfriends? Soon Lu Mei turned her head, pulled Tengyu's hand and raised her eyebrows and said, "This is Tengyu's sister, and you will be my sister in the future, show me some respect." Tengyu smiled lightly, like a seductive fox, stretched out her jade hand to touch Lu Jun's head, ruthlessly ravaged her hair, and said fiercely, "Did you hear me? I will be your sister from now on, you must respect it from the bottom of your heart." Lu Jun heard the implication. Don't tell about Chishui Town, it's a naked threat. He curled his lips, wondering what ecstasy she had given his sister. After a while, the sky was bright, and Yi Ying's tired figure came back, smiled at Lu Jun and said, "Very good, I caught a deacon in blue, maybe I can find Sa Lang by following the clues." Just listen to Lu Jun. The cardinal is not so easy to fall for. The original book has arrested so many blue-clothed deacons, but still failed to catch Sa Lang. However, being able to deal with the blue-clothed deacon of the magic capital 1.5 years in advance also reduces a lot of unnecessary sacrifices. Nighthawk said sincerely, "Thank you very much this time, the government will reward you. Do you know that the rewards offered by the court are 120 million for a deacon in blue and 20 million for a priest in gray? The former will be allocated at least 20 million, and the latter will be 40 million. Hearing the real reward, Lu Jun's eyes lit up. In fact, the original book is also at this price, and most people think it's too little. After all, it is too dangerous to fight with the Black Vatican. Seeing Lu Jun's look of money lovers, Tang Yu pushed him, and said angrily, "Don't see money open your eyes, you risk your life, you study and practice honestly in college, don't get involved in these things anymore." I don't know if it was the joint action of Chishui Town and his party that made Tang Yu get closer. Although it was not a relationship between a man and a woman, she saw Lu Jun as a younger brother. He nodded copingly. Understood. At the side, Lu Mei saw Lu Jun's puzzled expression, covered her mouth and chuckled, and said quietly, "That's good, there is someone who can control you, and when I grow up, it will become more and more difficult for me to control you." Lu Jun had just finished dealing with one, and when he heard his sister's lingering words of resentment, his scalp tingled. He knew that Lu Mei was also angry. She was blaming him for acting impulsively, and also blaming herself for not paying attention to protecting her younger brother. So he quickly held his sister's white and slender hand, nodded and said, "It's okay, I won't do it next time." Lu Mei felt her hands being held and wrapped in warmth, her face turned rosy, and she didn't speak anymore. At this moment, Lu Jun felt troublesome, but he didn't know that the official mage next to him saw it, and was speechless with envy. Who wouldn't want to have two beautiful sisters to comfort him after being assassinated? They think Lu Jun is the winner in life. Nighthawk still had that cold face, unaware of similar situations. Instead, Lu Jun asked, "Have all the information on Yuang been taken out?" "Yes, what's wrong?" "It's nothing." Lu Jun walked up to Yuang, who was already foaming at the mouth and looked stupid, looked down and said, "To cut grass, we must get rid of the roots." Puff! As soon as the words fell, the Wujin Feijian in his palm shot out, piercing Yuang's head directly, splashing red and white juice. Everyone looked sideways, couldn't help being terrified. The young man's expression was cold, and he was decisive in killing, and he didn't have the image of a well-behaved boy in front of his sister just now, but also those who dare to confront the Black Vatican are all ruthless characters. 1.5 years later in the original timeline, Mo Fan failed to kill Yuang, and let him escape by chance. A few years later, there was another storm, and Mo Fan's father and family were threatened. Jun Lu has learned this lesson: the Black Vatican is always dead, and the Black Vatican is the best. The future Shu Zayotting probably has a happy life. That's the end of the matter. Lu Jun packed away the cursed pool, and the trial meeting didn't say anything, including the imperial court came to condolences later. A hero who fought against the Black Vatican was assassinated under his command, no matter what given explanation. After a few days, Yuang's matter was over. However, there were various versions of theories circulating in the streets of Shanghai. Fortunately, the city council came forward and gave the explanations to subside. This matter only caused waves on the Modu internet, and only a very small number of people on the internet saw something from some blurry videos. Hey, isn't the mage who killed the Black Vatican in the street the guy from Bo City? It's kind of like that. I heard that it seems to be Mingzu's new generation, a generation of people slaughtered, a ruthless character, killed more than 50 people, I don't know. It's a pity that even if someone talked about it, it didn't cause too much trouble. It's only been a few weeks, and the enthusiasm for the Battle of Bo City has subsided. Of course, this matter is remembered by the people all over the country. When it is mentioned again at a certain point, the memory will be quickly revived. Lu Jun soon received a municipal allocation of 50 million yuan, plus the 20 million yuan he had saved, and before he knew it, he was not far from the pulse of the galaxy. Sure enough, he was reborn in the whole legal world, and he was done with the Black Vatican, the fastest way to make money. Even her elder sister Lu Mei was very surprised. She said bluntly that even if she got it all together, she would have to polish it for a while. After all, the pulse of the galaxy is not 100% promoted, and it is best to reach a critical point to break through. Afterwards, Lu Jun packed the cursed pool and went to Pearl Academy, hoping to rely on Dean Xiao to find someone to deal with it. By the way, it was time to find a suitable metal magic. In the college office, Dean Xiao adjusted his glasses and said with a gentle smile, "I've heard about you. Be careful. Although you haven't officially entered the school, I still want to say that Mingzu is proud of you." Lu Jun was flattered. "Thank you, Dean Xiao loves you so much." "Ha ha ha, there's no need to be so restrained. I'll find someone to get your cursed substance, and I'll get it in a week at most." Dean Xiao smiled and said, "By the way, thank you for your encouragement to the Pearl students." After saying that, Lu Jun's forehead darkened, and he naturally joined various group chats in Mingzu. Seeing the title of Lu Rentu hyped up on the forum, he felt full of shame, not as good as Lu Zhanxian. Before he entered Mingzu, the students of Mingzu memorized his appearance all over, as if he was facing a big enemy. Okay, let's wait for the good news. Lu Jun left the school and went back home to stay. His sister was also practicing hard. Due to unexpected incidents, the two of them dared not leave until the start of school. Let's wait for the limelight to pass. The great cause of hunting monsters has temporarily stopped, but of course the collection of information has been going on. Not long after, people from the academy came and handed Lu Jun a bottle of sealed glass measuring cup, explaining how it was used. Cursed substance, cursed seal. Lu Jun held the measuring cup in his hand, and a strange dark green mist flowed in it, wriggling as if possessing some kind of spirituality. The so-called dark matter and cursed matter are a bit like contracted beasts. They are just lifeless, instinctive microbes that use magic as a contract and grow with them. The effect of cursed seal is extremely rough and simple, that is, an enemy hit once by a curse type skill will be marked with a curse seal, and if it is not immediately expended to erase it, it will gradually deepen over time. During this process, the caster's body is also eroded by the curse, the pain intensifies and the corrosive damage continues. When it accumulates for a certain period of time, Lu Jun can choose to detonate the curse seal, inflicting a huge amount of damage to the soul and body. Even if it doesn't die, it will cause huge sequelae, similar to the black beast's large-scale festering and corrosion, lifespan decay, limb changes and so on. Tisk tisk tisk, isn't this cursed substance stronger than the top-grade spiritual species? The haze of fear, which was relatively useless, finally has a great use, and every curse spell will accelerate the deepening of the curse mark. Seeing this, Lu Jun was overjoyed. The curse department really stood up. And it's just the haze of fear. The mid-level evil spider's trap is terrifying, with group marks, large-scale control, large-scale double killing. The soul is absorbed by the evil spider, and the body is eroded by the curse seal. Even if he escapes by chance, he will face the final beheading. What's more, his attack method is completely different from Jin Shui's. It is a weird and difficult method. It is extremely restrained against rough-skinned and thick-skinned enemies. Lu Jun got the cursed substance and went to retreat to practice non-stop. Lu Mei caught a glimpse of this scene, smiled and ignored it. Buzz buzz. In the room, Lu Jun opened the bottle, and a wisp of dark green condensed smoke rose, flowing silkily from his fingers into the spiritual world, enveloping a majestic and ominous cursed energy. He was immersed in his cultivation, when the black-red cursed stardust suddenly poured into the dark green condensed smoke, rapidly spreading and infecting the 7 stars, and accompanied by powerful energy, it hit a barrier of light film. 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, more and more loopholes were corroded. In a short while, the barriers became broken, and the thought of a little impact broke down in an instant. Booming, the stardust began to inflate like a balloon, expanding 7 or 8 times in the blink of an eye, and the 7 stardust instantly turned into 49 stardust. The curse system has been promoted to the middle level. In addition, Lu Jun exuded an ominous aura all over his body. His skin was slightly pale, and when he opened his eyes, a round of dark green substances were reflected, flowing slowly, as if some kind of strange creature was locked inside. There is also a burst of cold energy diffusion, reflecting the bedroom like a haunted house, covered with faint green light. Lu Jun raised his left hand, and a complicated and strange dark green pattern spread on his fair wrist, representing the cursed substance, the curse seal. Dark magic, bear a curse, use the curse. He muttered to himself. Using the curse seal also has a little side effect, that is, he is also eroded, but because this curse is not too powerful, the cost is also very small, basically negligible. Coupled with the physical enhancement brought by the tide of the water spirit species, it is barely immune. Lu Jun remembered Zhang Kong's teaching once, that curses take spiritual bonuses, and they are not used to fight against mages, but to fight against the curses on one's own shoulders. Only the stronger the stronger the curse mage. Legend has it that there is a scarecrow curse, that cursed mage, every time he injures himself, the enemy will suffer more serious injuries. There is also the curse of vampires, who are afraid of the holy light, but strengthen their bodies, and there are also curses of ghosts, which exist in reality as spirit bodies from now on, immortal, and the price is that others can no longer see you. There is also a curse from the Egyptian pharaoh, turning himself into a mummy, living forever, but no longer being a human, etc. Even the ancestors' curse borrowing technique is essentially a curse. To put it bluntly, it is similar to the Ma family immortals in the northeast area, who are both good and evil, please God. The price is the lowest among many powerful curses, and it is cost-effective. As long as the spiritual realm is strong enough to control the soul of the demon and restrain the animal nature, it can be controlled all the time. That's why the ancestral family can stand out and take the top spot. Of course, the clansmen who don't cultivate well have a bit of a stupid character, such as the few ancestors in the back. In contrast, Lu Jun's curse seal is really trivial, its power can crush people of the same age, but it is still far behind the great mage in the society. But he is already very satisfied. In the blink of an eye, it is summer in September, and the school season is here. Lu Jun and his brother have been silent for a month and a half. Since he broke through the middle level of the curse system, he has been concentrating on grasping the star. With 2 experiences, he can barely release it now, but the casting speed is very slow. At present, he is in the middle level of the 3 departments, and the only thing missing is the soul department. He thought that the soul department would develop the nirvana sword of the soul, and he would be able to break through the middle class first by grinding day and night, but he did not expect that the curse department would be the first. The gold system is the champion, with a 2nd level cultivation base, and the 7 Wujin flying swords transform into 3 feet in size and slash down, just like 7 fighter jets swooping down, and even a few warriors are not enough to kill. Secondly, the water system has been used many times, and there are faint signs of breaking through the 2nd level. But it doesn't matter, I will focus on the mind system and water system next. Lu Jun looked around the 4 departments, full of sense of accomplishment. There are so many departments to take care of, he can't take care of one and lose the other, temporarily wrong the big brother of the gold department. There are not many places in the school, and he bullies the students of the same year too much. Sister, I'm going to school. He went out and said to Lu Mei, and walked to the Pearl Academy alone. My sister gave up and immersed herself in her cultivation, trying her best to break through the thick layer of high-level barriers and strive for a 100% promotion to a higher level. It didn't take long for Lu Jun to arrive at the school. He was very familiar with the road, and he came here 2 or 3 times. There are new handsome men and beautiful women nearby, all dressed handsomely and beautifully. A kind of youthful restlessness pervades, everyone is looking for a target, and wants to talk about a sweet love. Those seniors and sisters who were volunteers to preside over the order had their eyes wide open, wanting to catch prey. Seeing this, Lu Jun was bored, and didn't see any familiar figures, like Xu Zayotong and Mo Fan, who were in the next class. He had already been promoted to sophomore at that time, and he might be at the peak of the middle class. With the help of the 3-step tower, the higher level is within easy reach. Among the freshmen, he didn't bring any luggage and lived off campus. As a result, quite a few seniors had no reason to want to strike up a conversation with him when they saw his outstanding appearance and sharp temperament. Lu Jun was queuing up to pass the school gate, when suddenly someone in the crowd shouted, "It's Lu Rentu." Aha! Where, let's go. For a moment, the students were in chaos, and the team retreated layer by layer, leaving a large blank space, as if they encountered some monsters and ghosts, and rushed to leave. Only Lu Jun stayed where he was with a dazed expression on his face. After the freshmen dispersed, they watched from a long distance, watching curiously, or took out their mobile phones to take pictures. A little girl's eyes lit up and said, "It doesn't seem that scary, does it? He's such a handsome young man, how can he be as exaggerated as in the video?" Immediately, someone retorted, "Come on, a vulgar woman who only looks at her appearance as handsome on the outside, but she is perverted on the inside. She is quick and ruthless in killing people. Get out," you cursed angrily. "What is a pervert? That's just law enforcement. I seriously doubt your identity. Yeah, that's a full sense of security. Okay, having a boyfriend who slays demons is invincible." Lu Jun realized that something was wrong. He saw someone took out his mobile phone to take a picture, and the green cloud boots under his feet were flashing blue light. He resolutely triggered a quick step, and at a speed not weaker than the wind track, the figure swished away from the crowd. Oh, he's gone. The freshman behind did not dare to chase, for fear of offending Mr. Lu and being stabbed back. After a while, Lu Jun walked to a remote and uninhabited place. He felt that the group of students were too exaggerated. Didn't they just kill people before? No one has ever done it. The students of the School of Magic seemed to have really never done it. On the other side, under the shade of the trees, there were several groups of people standing, watching the movement of the gate from a distance. Among the two brothers, one has thick eyebrows and is upright, and the other is a slightly older young man who is a fool. Anyone who looks at them thinks they are the sons of a wealthy family. In fact, both of them are children of the Dongfang family. The former is called Dongfang Ming, and the latter is called Dongfang Lai. Seeing this, the idle Dongfang Lai smiled and said, "Ah Ming, what do you think of this Mr. Lu?" Dongfang Ming with thick eyebrows said with an unnatural expression, "I don't dare to provoke the Black Vatican, but with my natural talent, I won't lose to him in a magic duel." He. Dongfang Lai shook his head, and just said, "I'm going to be a junior soon, and I want to participate in the trial practice. The more I understand these things, the more I feel that Lu Jun is not simple. Do it for yourself, try not to provoke Mr. Lu, I mean don't use outside tricks, compete openly and above board, this is my advice." Dongfang Ming turned his head, but he felt jealous in his heart. He also watched the video. The full version was not mosaic. It was shocking. He didn't fall asleep for several days after watching it. From then on, he knew how strong Lu Jun's psychological quality was, just like a normal person. In addition, there are also a group of beautiful girls with a hot and aura. If I have to describe it, it is Tengyu's unique aura of a female fire mage. They are headed by a gentle and beautiful woman. The woman's hairstyle is somewhat fascinating. The sides of the black hair slipped like silk, and a pretty net braid was woven in the middle, covering her softly like a veil. On the silky and smooth waterfall hair, there is a sense of gentleness and virtuousness, yet noble and delicate. Anyone who looks at the Zhongnan woman who comes to mind, the impression of a lady from everyone. But the short-haired woman at the side knew that her best friend was a pure grassroots commoner, even an orphan, and she somehow cultivated this kind of temperament, which was more noble than herself, a local of the Devil City. As expected of a university, monsters from all over the world gather here. The short-haired woman Huang Xingli asked enthusiastically, "Ding Yumian, what do you think of this Lu Rentu?" The few of them have stayed together since the youth class, and they are special recruits, similar to Mu Ningshui's situation. Although they belong to Pearl University, they have not officially enrolled, and today's class is considered a freshman. It's just that they are locals from Shanghai who have money and connections, and Ding Yumian is purely born with talent. The attack range of the fire element is twice as wide as that of others, and it is wider than the storm of the water element. Original disguise. Ding Yumian stared quietly, shook his head lightly and said, "He is very confident, and he feels like everything is under control." The others didn't think there was a problem when they heard it. They all knew their best friend's ability to know people. Many scumbags were exposed when they approached, and their attempts were made to flee. Huang Xingli joked. That means he is very controlling, machismo. It's impossible for a man who dares to fight the Black Vatican without a little bit of paranoia. Ding Yumian didn't speak, but she felt that it wasn't a desire to control, but a kind of calm. Anyway, she heard Grandpa Xiao mentioned it, so she recorded Lu Jun's name in her heart. Now that she looked at it, it seemed that it was hidden a lot, and she couldn't see through it, like looking at flowers through fog. Generally, she had a similar situation only when she encountered a psychic mage. She thought about it, but didn't care. At the same time, Lu Jun has not yet discovered that several supporting characters with surnames in the original work have noticed him, and he probably did not expect to be in the same class as them. He thought it was troublesome, so he just picked up the books in the new class and left hastily. Fortunately, he didn't live in the school, otherwise he would be bored to death. The next day's freshman orientation conference, also known as the beast fighting competition, will be the main topic at that time. The next day, Lu Jun packed his appearance and went to the Colosseum. The so-called beast fighting contest is to use the summoned objects of the summoning students to single out all the freshmen and then determine each other's resources. After all, there has been a long-standing conflict between the summoning department and other departments. The number of dimensional magicians is small, but the resources that can be occupied are the same as those of fire, water, wind and other large departments with a large number of people. Unavoidable imbalance. So Dean Xiao waved his hand, and simply came up with a challenge. If the freshmen of the summoning department can defeat 100 people in a row, they will get complete resources. If it is defeated by freshmen from other departments, half of the resources will be deprived. Therefore, all freshmen will actively participate in the fight for their own interests, and bloody incidents also occur from time to time. Gradually, the beast fighting contest became the most important program in the youth campus. Many old students from the main campus would come to watch it. The impressive characters who appeared were basically the influential figures of the future college. It is held once a year, and it is even synchronized to the internet through the media, and the traffic is not low. Many ordinary people who are curious about the internal affairs of the university, or casual mages will pay attention. Often tens of thousands of people are online at the same time. This kind of scene where human mages and monsters fight is really rare. I am afraid that only the Venice competition held every 4 years and the Hunting King competition held every 10 years can be seen. Because with the current civilian-owned communicator, there is no way to live broadcast in the wild, and as long as a demon hunter knows that once the mobile phone is turned on in the wild, the magic waves emitted will be noticed by the demons immediately and they will not die soon enough to start the live broadcast. In the same way, the imperial court had no way of grasping the vicious killings that occurred repeatedly in the wilderness and there was no evidence of death. However, there are some possibilities for military use. It will develop in the next few years and gradually become popular for civilian use. It has become popular and has become a popular outlet. He has considered entering this industry to make money in the future. Returning to the original topic, Mr. Liu is bound to win the beast fighting competition this time. Needless to say, the benefits of each department. The curse department is a small department, and there are only a few freshmen at present. His prestige is far and wide, and he can get a lot of resources. In fact, he used the resources of the department to deal with the cursed substance of the Black Holy Sea before. If you get summoning resources again, it will take off. Of course, Lu Jun still has a bigger ambition, like Mo Fan a year later, to plunder the resources of the whole department, achieve himself, enter the 3 towers, and maybe quickly cap the mid-level. Soon, he arrived at the Colosseum. This building is very grand, even bigger than a football field. Usually, this would be used as a venue for grand competitions, but today the duel field inside has become a huge enchanted cage, known as the Iron Cage of Fighting Beasts. The beast cage is surrounded by stepped seats, the seats are arranged densely, and it is estimated that it will not be a big problem to accommodate 10,000 people. This kind of super fighting hall is probably only built by the rich and powerful like the Pearl Academy. The students had already entered the hall one after another, and they had started queuing up after lunch, and the crowd had already set off the grand atmosphere. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the entire venue was full of students, with young and energetic faces, and fair-skinned young girls, looking expectantly at the audience. At the same time, one after another drones took pictures and took off, using the military's high-tech, stable dynamic capture, and high-definition scenes. I am afraid that only Mingzu has such contacts to get this kind of thing. Lu Jun was greedy anyway. The beast fighting contest has not yet started, and the live broadcast room has already been full of bullet screens. Judging by the number of viewers, the fans are very sticky. Don't you all go to work? Sigh, the beast fighting contest at Pearl Academy is good for everything, but the time is uncertain. This year it will be broadcast on weekdays, so I can only take a sneak peek. Me too. Come on, it's impossible for a university to train top mages to turn a freshman test into a national entertainment project. This is putting the cart before the horse. Besides, the bloody monsters are terrifying. Many people with low psychological quality can't accept it. If we let go of the propaganda, we will wait for the parents to report it. True Washa is a good parent. Yeah, that's pretty good. As a niche live broadcast, only people in our circle know about it. Then how many of you are mages like me? Hey, in the lower city demon hunting team. My city guard. Good guy, are you all mages? I'm just an ordinary person, trembling. It's so boring, and there is no commentary. When will it start? I suddenly found that those game commentaries are not useless. At least they will accompany you to talk about the mountains. Brother, you don't understand. You need to have a pair of eyes that discover beauty. Tisk tisk tisk. Girls from this top school are pretty. They are in summer. They have big white legs and good looks. I'm envious. Then came a burst of repeaters. While watching the video, the official teacher of the college happily watched the barrage. Sand sculpture netizens are really interesting. At this time, Lu Jun had already arrived at the designated place. He was one of the 100 people who signed up for the challenge. He went directly to the backstage without having to sit in the auditorium. No way, with his famous name, sitting in the auditorium, ensure that there is a circle of blank space around. As for his registration, the teachers and students in charge will not test the qualifications at all, and directly occupy a spot. When Lu Jun came backstage, he saw 10 people from the summoning department and 100 people from each department. Everyone froze for a moment, moved away with a bit of awe, and Dong Fongming and Ding Yumian in the crowd stared at Mr. Lu without moving. He didn't care about being the focus, and said without hesitation, "I'll be the first one to go up then." The teacher in charge, Ji Yu-han, was slightly taken aback, and nodded in agreement. Ruan Ya, a beautiful teacher in the healing department, nodded with a smile and said, "This class of freshmen is not bad, very energetic." After the words fell, the other arrogant sons of heaven were dissatisfied, but they were afraid and didn't want to care about it. They watched Lu Jun coldly and wanted to test Lu Jun. First of all, Dean Xiao's speech was on the stage, and he said in a calm and firm tone, "If you just want to be a magician who is respected in society, holds a fairly high salary, and lives a high-quality life, then I want to tell you responsibly that you have come to the wrong place. The magicians who come out of the Pearl Academy must have the ability to change the world, and they must be heroes who can take on the mission of protecting mankind. If anyone only pursues the former, we can give you a graduation book and a letter of introduction from the Pearl Academy right now, so that you can live this kind of life. Please don't take up a precious place, wealth, and reputation in our Pearl Academy. We are not lacking, what we are lacking is the eternal heart to pursue the supreme magic." This is the belief of the magic school, and the students taught have the potential to hit the super level. The students present were also full of enthusiasm, and their faces flushed with vigor. In the live broadcast room, bullet screens flashed across. That's a good point. College students should take the revitalization of mankind as their own responsibility, and fight against demons outside. Principal Xiao is unparalleled. Dean Xiao gives speeches every year, and the words are different every time, which can often bring about enlightenment, so it is very popular on the internet and is very popular among the general public. The original book did not explicitly say that it was synchronized to the media, it just said that the name of the great demon King Mofan had spread to the capital afterward. I think there may be records. Many large-scale events of top universities or invited celebrities to give speeches are all attended by the media. This is the influence of top universities. Every student can stand in the center of the stage and get the focus of society. At best, the spread is not wide. After more than 10 minutes, Dean Xiao ended his speech neatly, without even giving the other leaders a chance to speak, and immediately started fighting beasts, which was also liked by the audience in the live broadcast room. There are too few leaders who don't talk nonsense, or those incompetent leaders can only maintain authority through ambiguous words. Here it comes, let's get to the point, hit me hard. Let me see what this year's new tea is, and if there are any beautiful and powerful mage wives. The upstairs wants to eat farts, and it's not a university for ordinary people. These female mages will crush you to death with one hand. Soon, a group of summoners appeared on the stage first. Most of the boys, even one or two girls, looked ordinary. The barrage feedback came out. Disappointed, it doesn't look like much. Immediately, someone retorted, fart, a random servant at the beginning level of the summoning department can crush 7 or 8 mages. Don't look mediocre, it really sweeps the same department. Backstage, Lu Jun took a deep breath. This stage is attracting everyone's attention, but he is also a person who has experienced many storms without much fear, and he is a little crazy in his heart, wanting to live a big life. So he walked calmly, wanting to go up alone. On the side, Ji Yu-han said suspiciously, "Student Lu Jun, wait a minute, there are 3 other teammates." In the beast fighting contest, each department is usually mixed into groups of 4, a total of 25 groups, and 10 people from the summoning department are divided into 10 groups, otherwise the summoning department will not be able to win at all. But Lu Jun gave up and said, "No need, I am an intermediate mage, I can do it alone, and the others are dispensable." As soon as these words came out, the expressions of the hundreds of people present changed, and they burst into anger. All of them were the proud sons of heaven. Elites from all over the country stood out from thousands of freshmen, and they were all champions in their hometowns. Being looked down upon like this, of course I feel dissatisfied. But they are still rational, knowing that Lu Jun is a ruthless person. He will not speak provocatively, but wait for the first move. If he is not as fierce as the rumors, with cruel methods, no one is afraid of anyone in fair competition. There is a high probability that Lu Jun would not dare to intentionally kill someone in the academy. Lu Jun was expressionless. He deliberately aroused everyone's hostility to pave the way for the next thing. What's more, his strength is here. He has a golden body on the official side, backed by the Qingtian Demon Hunting Institute, the Pearl Academy, and he is not afraid of even the Black Vatican. There is no need to be polite, bold competition is over. When Lu Jun came on the stage alone, there was a burst of shouting from the audience, and then the sound gradually faded. The students were clearly a bit puzzled. It's strange, why did only one person come up, and the other 3? Including the old man in the live broadcast room who is also very familiar with the rules of the beast fighting competition, and they all played a screen full of question marks. Immediately afterwards, the students at the scene seemed to have recognized Lu Jun, and they were startled. They whispered to the people around them, and soon it spread to the freshmen, and even the old students who watched the theater heard about it. For a while, the audience was quiet, staring at Mr. Lu with wide-eyed eyes. The live broadcast room was very puzzled, and a barrage popped up. What's going on? The students don't talk. Who is this person? This. I seem to know that it is related to a certain major event that happened 2 months ago in Modu. The Riddler is dead. Please speak clearly. Some of the audience were locals from Shanghai, who recognized Lu Jun, and began to popularize science one after another. The live broadcast room suddenly became a little warmer, and everyone gasped, feeling full of anticipation. They are a little tired of watching monsters in groups all the time, and fighting monsters alone has the feeling of fighting in an octagonal cage. The director of the summoning department didn't bother to know about ordinary mages, so he frowned when he saw Lu Jun alone on stage and said, "Is it just you?" Lu Jun said calmly, "I am enough alone." Arrogance. The teacher of the summoning department raised his anger, turned around and said indifferently to the 10 students, "If you lose, let alone the resources being taken away, you will give me special training in the future." The students of the summoning department swallowed, and looked at each other in blank dismay. Didn't they have surfed the internet? The ruthless person on the other side, "Teacher, do you want us to die?" The Black Vatican doesn't say anything else. It's easy to do a dozen servants. Seeing this, Dean Xiao nodded with a smile. Since student Lu is confident, let's start. As a last resort, a boy from the summoning department stood up and walked into the Colosseum with a bitter face. Mr. Lu, He Ming. The two exchanged names. Lu Jun had never heard of this name, and probably had never met Mo Fan before. Soon, Ming, a skinny boy, chanted a spell, summoned the dimension, and showed his summoned beast. Oh wow, a huge demonic wolf appeared, with a shoulder height of 3 meters. It was the most mainstream spirit wolf in the summoning system, and its combat power was also high in the servant class. Those who can be admitted to Mingzu's primary summoning department are all the best among their peers. The evil spirit of the monster was revealed fiercely, and the wind swept the audience. Most of the students saw the monster for the first time, and they didn't dare to breathe, and the legs of those seated in the front row were trembling. Book knowledge is book knowledge after all, and it can't compare to actual combat. And the barrage in the live broadcast room suddenly stagnated. The teacher in the background saw the rapid decline in the traffic and the number of people. The teacher shook his head. He is used to it. Monsters are not tigers in zoos. With the psychological quality of modern people, it is probably frightening to see tigers hunting in the wild, let alone monsters. On the field, Lu Jun looked at this devil wolf with great interest, and couldn't help itching his hands. Although they were of different types, they were all wolves. He hadn't killed wolves for a long time after leaving Bo City. As soon as the ghost wolf appeared, it lowered its body and made a posture of fighting and biting. But its keen intuition discovered that under the seemingly handsome and peaceful appearance of the other man, there was a violent and bloodthirsty aura hidden. It smelled the wrong soul of the same family, and it lingered around the man for a long time. The animal nature that was about to move suddenly couldn't move its limbs. The spirit wolf was so frightened that it didn't dare to launch an offensive. Ming urged again and again, but saw that his summoned beast stood still, and his face showed a bit of embarrassment. In front of a large crowd, this is a very embarrassing behavior. Don't you see, the head of the summoning department has a displeased expression on his face. He wants to slap the student across the face hard, but what is Ming doing? Can't help cursing. Trash. As a summoning department, you can't even command your own summoning beasts. The confrontation on the field lasted for more than 10 seconds, and the audience in the live broadcast room also slowed down, and each posted a barrage to express their dissatisfaction. Are you doing gods and demons? Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, I'm so anxious. Boring. I want to see rivers of blood flow. On the field, Jun Lu seemed to have heard the audience's call, and took the lead in casting spells with Star Trail. His eyes flickered with dark green brilliance, and a magical power surged from the curse-type nebula, which was activated at the first level 3 haze of Fear Nightmare. Roar. The ghost wolf seemed to have witnessed a pair of dark green evil eyes, which seemed to spread some kind of ominous curse to itself through the void. On the arena, the spirit wolf screamed, its vigorous body crashed to the ground, and a complex dark green mark appeared on its forehead. The color was relatively light, not yet clear, and it was still growing. Because of this, it suffered mental shock, severe heart pain, muscle weakness in the body, fell to the ground, and was involved in a nightmare in a trance, turning into a one-eyed magic wolf to besiege the man. But he was beheaded by a big sword many times, and the death methods were various and very cruel. Ming was at a loss. Before he could react, the haze of fear strengthened by the curse seal reached the spiritual world along the contract, and then he fell into panic as well. Although it was not as serious as the summoned beast, the damage it caused was not small. The summoner held his heart, his face was pale, and he gasped for breath. The teachers were slightly startled, and some of them saw the doorway and said with emotion, "Curse department, I still refined some kind of curse substance." All the students present burst into an uproar. What's going on? Jun Lu just took a look, and the two of them fell to the ground. That's a servant-level monster. As expected of Lu Rentu, who fights with open flames, he is strong, and dares to have 2 hands with the Black Vatican. The viewers in the live broadcast room were also shocked and couldn't understand it at all. It wasn't until someone popularized the unpopular curse magic that they suddenly realized it. Just listening to the name feels quite dangerous. If ordinary people encounter it, they will definitely die. Don't be afraid, those who can fight the Black Vatican must be good people. It's awesome. If you stand still, the enemy will fall to the ground. Why is it a bit like Hokage's Sharingan? Don't get involved with the devil's stuff, it was plagiarized by Kishimoto. It will explode at a glance, just because. The audience's comments did not affect the progress of the beast fighting competition. Ruan Ya, a beautiful teacher from the healing department, came to the stage and checked Ming's injuries. Apart from the need for spiritual cultivation, there was nothing serious about it. As for the spirit wolf beside him, he had already returned to his hometown on the summoning plane. Lu Jun was still thinking about it. He initially tried the curse system, and before he activated the curse seal harvesting ability, the spirit wolf fell to the ground. It was infused with the curse material, and the power of this system was greatly enhanced. Of course, the spiritual realm and the blessing of the spiritual system also accounted for part of the reason. The remaining 9 summoning students in the audience looked at each other with frustrated faces. He Ming was basically at the upper middle level between them, so they lost even if they couldn't reach each other's clothes. The gap is too big. Unexpectedly, when the students of the summoning department were about to show off, they heard Lu Jun's indifferent voice on the stage saying, "That's it. Don't come one by one, wasting my time, let's go together." As soon as these words came out, even the summoning students of the Buddhist department were angered. The audience was even more uproarious, most of them were gloating and watching the excitement, regardless of the outcome, it was a big show. The 99 challengers from other departments in the background frowned, and Dongfang Ming said displeased ly. "At first, I thought this guy would wear 10 at once, and we had no role to play. Now he is so arrogant, just wait for failure." Ding Yumian was quiet, recalling the familiar fluctuations just now, not sure if he had misperceived it. It was strange, it was obviously curse magic, why did it have the breath of spiritual magic? The live broadcast room was full of fun people, and they all shouted, "Crazy! Crazy!" Some people were dissatisfied. "We are all classmates, is it necessary to make the relationship so rigid? College students are young and energetic, and sooner or later they will suffer." Upstairs SB, "Do you think everyone is as submissive as you are, lingering on their last breath? This is a student, and my Chinese students should have such high spirits." Lu Xuan, "I hope that all Chinese youths will go up, and don't have to listen to the words of those who give up on themselves." Ha ha ha, the relationship is still stiff after laughing to death, and the mage doesn't like the kindness of the workplace. Soon, 9 summoners stood up and boarded the fighting cage. Ho ho ho, woo woo, woo woo. A group of servant-level monsters emerged out of nowhere, each 3 meters high, or demonic wolf, or warblade stinging insect, or armored rhinoceros with thick skin and thick flesh, entrenched in the wide cage of animals, constantly roaring. A single monster is terrifying, but now there are 9 monsters, and all the students dare not breathe, and the front row is sweating profusely. The barrage in the live broadcast room was very real, the wind direction changed immediately, and the screen was full. "I was wrong, Lu Rentu, run, don't just stand there." It's hard to imagine whether soldiers who don't know the border have to face such a situation. The country really protects us very well. I heard that a group of people in Bo City invaded a few weeks ago, facing tens of thousands of monsters. I didn't feel it at the time. Now it seems that it is not easy. Bo City people. Send it, open it. HMPH, I just said that mere young people don't know the heights of the sky and the earth, just wait for failure. Hey, aren't you just encouraging the student's ID, why did you defect? It can be said that the audience will never be against the wind. Amid all the bad news, there were only 2 bullet screens with VIP entries floating by, encouraging, "Come on." Elder sister Lu Meixian at home was fine, lying on the pillow, swinging her legs, watching the live broadcast of the beast fighting competition. Seeing this scene, her expression was filled with reminiscence. The first time they hunted monsters, they had faced such a scene. Although the 9-headed servants here are well trained, and there is even a servant in the advanced stage, she doesn't take it to heart at all. It was a trivial matter to Lu Jun, so he posted a message to cheer. At the same time, Tang Yu from Hangzhou was also watching the live broadcast of the beast fighting contest at Pearl Academy, and casually typed a barrage, smiling knowingly. Amidst all the commotion, Lu Jun's face remained unchanged. Before the 9 summoners could urge the beast to attack, he raised his hand and shook it. Buzz buzz. At some point, the beast cage was covered with dense dark green silk threads, which crisscrossed and formed a shocking spider web, which gradually emerged from the transparency and enveloped the small half of the Colosseum. For a time, 9-headed servants and 9 summoning mages were included. Their bodies froze suddenly, their limbs twisted unnaturally, their eyes turned white, and their expressions were horrified. Even the servant-level demons were restrained in place, like puppets on strings. Everyone and every summoned beast had a dark green spell mark between their brows. The students in the front row of the auditorium were stunned, feeling the ominous atmosphere, then looked at the restrained summoning students on the field, and swallowed. An intermediate level magic of the curse system, the trap of evil spiders and weaving webs. It is a large-scale control skill. Although it does not have the ability to absorb the soul at the third level of Chauhei, but with the blessing of the cursed substance and curse seal, the first level is not weak. Buzz buzz. Lu Jun is calm. He is indeed not proficient in the middle-level magic of the curse department, but it doesn't matter. This department is not about fighting for opportunities. As early as the moment the 9 summoning elements entered the field, he took control of the cursed Xingzi without haste. This element and the psychic element were extremely hidden, and even a mage who took more than 10 seconds could weave a net. When the opponent attempted to attack, it was already time to close the net. Lu Jun waited for about a few seconds, waiting for the curse seal to penetrate deep into the 18 targets. The dark green spider web in the Colosseum was taut, the summoning mages and summoned beasts had no room to struggle, and the soul stardust was tightly sealed. In addition, the dark green curse marks on the foreheads of several people spread to the small half of the body, and ghost spider patterns were drawn from the face to the collarbone of the neck, which was hideous and ugly, full of darkness. The skin felt a hot tingling sensation, the muscles seemed to dissolve, the internal organs twitched, and the whole body felt uncomfortable, wishing to die. Fortunately, Lu Jun knew how to use the tormenting curse, not the killing curse, to kill the enemy. They were just suffering, and they couldn't exert the maximum damage of the curse seal. Lu Jun stretched out his 5 fingers one by one, a trace of dark green fingertips loomed, like a puppeteer's hanging thread, and everyone's gestures were on the palms of their hands to play with. Snapped. He snapped his fingers, gracefully turned his back to the Colosseum, faced the auditorium, bowed slowly like a magician, put his hand on his chest, and the curtain ended grandly. In an instant, the seals of the 9 people and 9 beasts exploded, and the fierce monsters splashed blood on the spot. Their huge bodies stiffened, and they slowly fell flat on the ground. The 9 people also fell into a coma. Everything was silent. Under the dim light and shadow of the Colosseum, it was like performing a puppet pantomime in a theater, a silent movie on a black and white TV. Lu Jun's face was mottled with shadows, and he could not see clearly. Against the backdrop of the grand background behind him, he looked horrifying and weird. All the students were silent, holding their breath, filled with silence, and terrified in their hearts. They didn't feel the slightest kindness from Lu Jun's bow. Instead, they added an elegant lunatic label to the label of human slaughter and ruthless character. A taboo that must not be provoked. After all, a reckless man is easy to deal with, but if he is still a conspirator who weaves traps in the dark, he will die without knowing what to do. The audience in the live broadcast room may see it more clearly. The special military camera can see the soul thread of the curse system. Even if everyone is watching the video at home, their hands are shaking with fright. Immediately, the live broadcast room exploded, and the bullet screen was brushed up. 666. I have been watching the beast fighting competition for so many years. This is the first time I saw all the summoning students being instantly killed by one person. Elegant, so elegant. Hey, it's you again. The person who said that the students of the curse department must be defeated just kowtowed and apologized, and started to settle the matter. Sorry. Awesome. The pinnacle of law is proud of the world. How to say the next sentence. In the Jinyuan apartment, Lu Mei was taken aback when she saw this scene. In the end, her aunt laughed, this brat is still so pretentious. At the backstage of the Colosseum at this time, Dong Fongming was shocked at first, and then complained, why is the summoning system so useless this time? There is a slave-level servant in the advanced stage who can be defeated in seconds. In fact, he knew that although his cultivation base had reached the middle level of the fire system, it was impossible to achieve Lu Jun's level unless he had a top-quality fire system spirit seed. Ding Yumian shook her head. She didn't care about Lu Jun's big show. Her character would not fight for anything, like a quiet lotus blooming quietly, waiting for those who appreciate it to walk in, or no one will know it until it withers silently. Ji Yuhan, Ruanya and other teachers came to the stage, lifted the 9 lying corpses, students, checked them, and found that there was nothing serious. They just needed to cultivate the spiritual world for a while. As for the physical corrosion, the healing department can easily handle it up. The head of the summoning department didn't say a word. This student is a real bull, and his face was swollen from beating him. After a while, Dean Xiao slowly walked onto the stage, announcing the failure of the summoning department and the loss of half of the resources, and he was going to ask Lu Jun, a student who wears 10 at a time, to say a word or two. According to the usual practice, at this time, the winner will pretend to say that the opponent is good, that he has tried his best, and other polite words, showing high EQ. The viewers, including those in the live broadcast room, quit one after another, too lazy to watch the rest of the nonsense. Today is already worth the price of admission. Although it is short, it is exciting, and that is enough. Many people rubbed their fists to open various forum platforms, or posted forums such as Hupu, Ready to Rate, Discuss Pearl University, Master, Lu Jun and so on. However, Lu Jun smiled, paused for a moment, and said without surprise, "My testimonials are a bunch of fun." Dean Xiao couldn't help laughing when he heard this sentence, knowing that Lu Jun wants to live a big life. He has always held an encouraging attitude. The so-called university must accommodate all kinds of groups, and various values are here. Collision, the development of a new trend of thought. However, the director of the summoning department was about to go back. When he heard this sentence, his face darkened, and he turned around and asked, "What are you talking about? Young people should know that there is a sky beyond the sky, and there are people beyond people." Lu Jun showed a bright and sunny smile and said, "Hey, don't get me wrong, I'm not targeting the summoning department, I mean everyone here is happy." As soon as this remark came out, it spread throughout the Colosseum, and the 10,000 students present were in an uproar, discussing it. Even if Lu Jun was a cruel person, they couldn't help it, and were filled with righteous indignation. Paralyzed, who can bear this, kill him. The dean of the department is even more sour-faced, acting like a clown who seems to be in the right place, arrogant. The live broadcast room had already dispersed, but after seeing this scene, the barrage quickly went up, and someone even cleverly took screenshots on the spot, made a dynamic picture, and sent it to the internet. Netizens are too keen, and immediately realized that famous scenes and memes appeared. Okay, work hard. I knew that Mr. Lu was a man who would accomplish great things. I'm dying of laughter, everyone here is rubbish. You understand the effect of the show. You don't want to be a sorcerer anymore, go live broadcast, the entertainment industry is losing talent. The profit is out, but such mages should not broadcast live. It is the right way to grow into a top mage. Everyone in the live broadcast room is my father. Funny JPG. Okay, good son, I admit it. For a while, the popularity of the live broadcast soared rapidly, and many viewers who had already quit came back quickly, and soon there were many old brothers who came here admiringly from the post bar, making this originally niche circle have a certain degree of enthusiasm to get out of the circle. At least the locals in Shanghai knew about it. A month ago, the freshman Lu Rentu, who was rumored in the neighborhood, entered the Pearl Academy, and there was indeed a big commotion. It is not an exaggeration to say that this kind of public opinion scene is the son of the chosen one, and there is an uproar before entering university. What level of person, go to the same school as me? Lu Jun continued to ignite an output. It is a waste of so many wastes to occupy the same resources. Dean Xiao, defeating the summoning department can plunder half of their resources. Then defeating everyone can plunder their resources. Dean Xiao pondered. There is no precedent, but it is not impossible. That's good. Lu Jun turned to the audience and said with a smile, "I'll be here today to kill you all. I want all your resources." As soon as the words fell, all the freshmen in the school yelled, "It's too arrogant. I'd be afraid of you if you were singled out, and you would be afraid of anyone who fights in groups. That is, thousands of us go up in turn, and sooner or later the magic energy will run out and fail." In the Colosseum, the crowd is full of anger and the smell of gunpowder. Dongfang Ming in the backstage had an ugly expression on his face. He exchanged a glance with several familiar children from aristocratic families. His eyes were cold, and he planned to make the arrogant Mr. Lu feel embarrassed. This garbage map cannon covered them all, which is tolerable intolerable. That's right, you are very powerful, you are tough, and you can kill the summoning department in seconds, but can you compare to the sea of people tactics? The elder sister Lu Mei, who was watching the live broadcast, opened her mouth slightly and her beautiful eyes widened. Is this his younger brother's usual appearance, so insolent? But she glanced at the barrage and couldn't help laughing out loud. It was indeed very interesting. My younger brother knows how to live broadcast, and he did a big job, which is a bit more charming than me. Regardless of whether Lu Jun wins or not, as long as his performance is not too bad, his reputation will spread. The freshmen were not surprised at all, but thought that this kind of behavior was in line with Lu Jun's personal design, and they wouldn't be like Mo Fan a year later. Everyone would shout and beat him. As the saying goes, a good person does 1,000 good deeds, but every time he does a bad deed, he will be considered an unforgivable crime by the masses. And the bad guys do countless bad things, and then do one less bad thing, but they are considered to have improved, and it is taken for granted. Tang Yu from Hangzhou muttered to herself, is that an exaggeration? Originally, she wasn't very interested in the battle of the junior freshmen. If Lu Jun hadn't appeared first, she wouldn't have even looked at it. But Lu Jun first singled out the monsters to earn enough attention, and then he singled out the summoning department to make people addicted, and then challenged all the students of the Pearl department, which was full of gimmicks. The effect of the program was wave after wave, and she was immersed in it even if she didn't like to watch the live broadcast of ordinary people. At this time, inside the fighting cage, Lu Jun summoned the Zhenjin heavy sword, stood on the arena, and said calmly, whoever comes first, go up one by one, don't talk about it. He was certain in his heart. At first glance, Mo Fan only challenged 200 people after 1 year, but he challenged thousands of people. First of all, Lu Jun doesn't need to beat all the thousands of students once, just defeat some of the brave ones, and the rest of the cowardly ones will be defeated without hitting. Secondly, he can use 4 departments, among which the Mind Department and Gold Department can be disguised, unlike Mo Fan who can only use 2 departments, and the magic power is several times more than Mo Fan. After all, the middle level 2 of the Gold system, the second level of the middle level of the Water system, and the first level of the Curse system are too much. What's more, such as Metal system, Curse and Soul system have great advantages against mages. Gold system can easily take away the sword on the neck of a human being. Failure without skills. It's not like Mo Fan, who has to fight hard when encountering an intermediate mage. It takes too much magic energy to gnaw hard bones after casting intermediate magic many times. I'm telling you to follow Mo Fan's way, so that he has nowhere to go. Lu Jun murmured. A year later, Mo Fan arrogantly challenged the whole department, but was ridiculed by the crowd. Before you challenge the whole department, Lu Jun was already the great demon king. Tisk tisk tisk, the picture is too beautiful, he can't control so much, it's too difficult to raise 4 departments, and it took years of honest practice to break through. Moreover, Mo Fan should not be in such an urgent need for strength, and the direction is different from the original book. Now Lu Jun has saved Xu Zayotong and Mo Fan from disasters, and after finishing Yuang, he will be in a very dangerous situation. Maybe he will be targeted by the Black Church. He had to improve his strength as soon as possible to have such a bold and crazy move. Just after Lu Jun's provocation was over, all the freshmen in the audience fell into a strange state. They were obviously angry, but no one came forward for a long time. Everyone knew that it was impossible for Lu Jun to defeat thousands of people, but they also knew that people named Xiang, the first to go up, were all mats, laying the groundwork for the winners behind, and the losers were also embarrassing. They all want to be the last straw, and the one who wins the top spot will naturally quietly wait for the first brave man to go up. After waiting for a long time in the live broadcast room, I began to be dissatisfied. This is it. This is the Pearl University. I'm dying from laughing. No wonder people dare to make fun of them. It turns out they are really a bunch of fun. It's so disappointing. In one of the top universities in the country, there is no one who is a man. Cut. A group of keyboard warriors, you can do what you want. Lu Rentu is not only hard-nosed to black the Holy See, but you also saw the performance just now. Hot knowledge, this curse mage is also a freshman. The gap is too big. In the backstage of the Colosseum, Dong Fongming and other aristocratic children who were suspected of being middle-level mages looked at each other, as if they wanted each other to go first. Ding Yumian on the side treated it calmly, without any emotion. For her, the resources of the Stardust magic tool are not very meaningful, and she doesn't want to join in the fun. The so-called rubbish and other outsiders' evaluations will not touch her heartstrings at all, and she has nothing to do with the world. Soon, There was a warrior who stood up first, but he was one of the 100 outstanding representatives in the backstage, and he was a child of a family. A handsome man, Bai Zhengfeng, a collateral branch of the Bai family, swept across the crowd and said with a sneer, "Everyone wants to pick peaches, but to put it bluntly, they are still afraid. Follow you group of insects, how can we achieve great things?" A brave man draws his sword to the stronger one, but he doesn't know that the first person to play can occupy the greatest reputation. People will only remember the first person. Bai Zhengfeng shook his head. This duel turned into one person singled out thousands of people. No matter what the result was, they all lost. Even if the last person who picked peaches defeated Lu Jun, it would be considered a fluke by others. Only the first person impressed everyone. He strode towards the Colosseum. When the audience outside and the veterans in the live broadcast room saw someone finally stand up, the venue heated up. Not bad, this kid is brave enough, he is a good guy. Indeed, it's much better than other mediocre people. What the hell, it's just cannon fodder, you can't hold back when you're a cushion. Lu Jun watched Bai Zhengfeng approaching slowly, and heard him say impassionedly, "Since none of you are willing to go first, then I will come. Maybe I will lose, but as long as I am willing to cut Ren 2 down." Failure always runs through life, but it is by no means to admit defeat today. Whoever wins the next brothers, it will be worth it. All the students in the school were eager to move, and a big brother shouted, "Brother, after you finish the challenge, I will go up." Young people are already full of vigor. Under the stimulation of Bai Zhengfeng, they can't wait to fight for 300 rounds immediately. Lu Jun saw that his opponent inspired the fighting spirit of all the freshmen and made his challenge more difficult, but instead of feeling ashamed, he became excited, which was much more interesting. He wants to subdue the quartet with dignity. "May I have your name?" Bai Zhengfeng. Hearing this, Lu Jun smiled, and recalled the original book. A year later, there was a man named Bai Zhengfeng who was in the same class as Mo Fan. Probably the relationship between the two families was brothers. He said lightly, "Okay, I remember your name, let me eliminate it next." Chapter 71. The moment the referee teacher called the start. Bai Zhengfeng quickly controlled the star trail. A stream of ice energy hovered around his body, trying to seize the opportunity. And Lu Jun's eyes were dark green, and he only used the haze of fear palpitation at the first level to save his mana. Because of this, Bai Zhengfeng's eyes went dark, and a pair of dark green snake pupils appeared, biting him suddenly, causing his heart to twitch, his spirit frightened, and a faint curse mark appeared on his forehead. In an instant, his star was interrupted. Immediately afterwards, Lu Jun shook the golden épée in his hand, and the Qingyan boots under his feet were activated, turning into an afterimage that spanned hundreds of meters, and killed him in a second. Seeing this, Bai Zhengfeng didn't have time to control Xingzi, his brows twitched, and he quickly called out the magic shield in the spiritual world. An ice crystal shield covered himself, 3 meters high, completely protecting the whole body. Buzz buzz. After Lu Jun rushed over, he slashed down with the strength of the Zhenjin heavy sword. The terrifying impact shattered the ice crystal shield in an instant, and the heavy sword slashed towards Bai Zhengfeng. At this moment, Bai Zhengfeng was terrified, subconsciously pressing his eyes tightly, waiting for death to come. But the next moment, a sharp gust of wind hit, the skin on the face tingled, and the neck felt cold, as if a cold blade was on the neck, and a voice came from the ear, "You lose, next one." Quote. When Bai Zhengfeng opened his eyes, a thick black long sword was very close at hand, and the blade of the sword shone brightly in platinum, making one uncomfortable. He was in a trance, a bit astonished. He was an intermediate mage, and he was defeated in a confrontation before the intermediate magic of the ice system was released. Normally, shouldn't the two fight against each other a few times, and then regret losing, even though the defeat is a glorious script? Bai Zhengfeng thought about losing, but he didn't expect to lose like this. He had considered Lu Jun's curse magic, and planned to use the shield magic tool to resist it, so that he could spare time to cast the spell, but he was vulnerable. All lose. Coupled with his previous bold words, the loss simply appeared to be in sharp contrast, and his face turned black. The fun person in the live broadcast room laughed loudly. "Bai, pull me to laugh, I was so heroic just now, but I was caught in a blink of an eye. I thought it was a character, ha ha ha. Speak boldly before the war, but remain silent after the war. Sword-splitting magic, is this magic? Isn't this science?" Ji Yu-han at the side announced by Zhengfeng's failure. He was not surprised, he ended up in a mess. Dean Xiao nodded and nodded. In fact, the students who just entered the university were still too rigid in casting spells. They had always stood still and fought magic. Facing Lu Jun, an actual combatant, they were naturally easily defeated. Using the least mana to create the most damage, typical of a demon hunter, this freely retractable swordsmanship is not bad either. Although Bai Zhengfeng failed, the fighting spirit he inspired all the freshmen did not fade away. They all saw that Lu Jun was merciful and did not kill. Now those freshmen are ready to move. Lu Jun also knew that if he hit Bai Zhengfeng hard from the very beginning, he would surely scare off many people, but he disdains that kind of approach, and the competition must be above board. Soon a student stood up, with an old face, like a big brother, and said in a rough voice, "I'll come." As a result, he went back to his seat not long after he played. Lu Jun didn't even bother to let go of the haze of the curse. The other party was a low-level fire mage. After this, Big Brother failed, more and more freshmen came up. They saw that the elementary level was defeated by the second, and the intermediate level was also defeated by the second. It doesn't matter, I can do it myself. After all, the past beast fighting competitions were games for a few people, and only the 100 chosen ones had the chance to make an appearance. Standing under the spotlight, they were the group of people represented. He was unknown in the past, but now he has the opportunity to stand on this stage. Isn't it exciting? If Lu Jun is defeated, they can also boast, and I have a share of the credit. A large group of freshmen stood up, formed a long line, and went up to challenge one by one. And Lu Jun didn't say a word, just swung his sword in a normal way, breaking spells and beheading enemies. The swordsmanship returned to the basics, without wasting extra strength, no matter frost, flame, or thunder, he cut away with a single sword, like a broken bamboo. 10 people, 30 people, 50 people. In just half an hour, hundreds of people were eliminated, and the fighting time was not even comparable to the freshmen's playing time. The number of 666 was raised in the live broadcast room. One sword breaks 10,000 spells, awesome. Hi everyone, I'm an elementary mage. I saw how simple it is to cut magic with a sword, so I tried it with an iron sword. Now I'm lying in the ICU. A script, definitely a script. It looks difficult, but it's not easy at all. Dogo. Listening to what you have to say upstairs is like listening to what you have to say. Dongfang Ming in the backstage couldn't sit still. He could see that junior mages were useless. He just went up to deliver food, and it was enough to consume the other party's mana. Only intermediate mages could pose a great threat. He has watched the battle for so long, and he has a set of rules in his heart. Lu Jun's horror is nothing more than the interruption of the curse system and the evil spider trap weaved. He has solutions to both of these points. As for the black gold they pay, the magic slaying tool, it is indeed very special, but it also consumes mana. In addition, it is mere melee, and it cannot be hit at a long distance. I have the advantage. Dongfang Ming was very happy that he would end Lu Jun and step on him to make a name for himself. Just as the next freshman went up with great interest, Dongfang Ming walked out and said calmly, "I'll come first." The girl was stunned for a moment, knowing that he was a child of the Dongfang family and one of the representatives of the freshmen at the beginning of the school, and he was quite famous, so she let Dongfang Ming play first. The students in the back also had no objection, they raised their interest. Bai Zhengfeng was too overwhelmed, now the real mid-level mage battle is about to begin. When Dongfang Ming entered the stage, he saw Lu Jun standing upright with a sword in his hand at the other end of the fighting cage. In the dim light, his face was hazy, and a terrifying aura rushed towards him. Seeing this, Dongfang Ming couldn't help being slightly taken aback, and it took a moment for him to return to normal. Lu Jun may not know how strong his current aura is. He has killed monsters, killed people, defeated hundreds of people in a row, and swept top universities. All kinds of experiences have given him an unspeakable aura. Dongfang Ming walked in and said confidently, "Jun Lu, I have seen through your weakness, and this farce will end soon. I will end it." Hearing this, Lu Jun didn't bother to pay attention, raised his long sword, and asked lightly, "Report your name." "You." Seeing that the other party ignored him, Dongfang Ming was slightly annoyed, and sneered, "Dongfang family, Dongfang Ming." Lu Jun reacted slightly, as if he had a little impression. He remembered that Dongfang Ming was the trainee judge Mo Fan met 2 years later in the original book, and he was dealt with in 10 minutes. If as expected, the other party will be one of the top 100 masters of the fire department in the main campus 2 years later, and has a natural talent quick casting. That is to say, for all magic, the casting speed will be reduced by half compared to ordinary people. He was finally touched, and an interesting opponent came. The battle started, and the two coincidentally controlled the star trail and released elementary magic. In just half a second, Dongfang Ming threw a ball of crimson fire magnets over, and Lu Jun had no choice but to stop casting the haze of the curse. Don't look at his curse system interrupting the invincibility of spellcasting, but in fact there is still a time gap in the middle. As long as magic has the process of controlling the star, he is just concealed and does not show it to others. Just now, Lu Jun relied on his high spiritual realm to realize the 1-second star path and crushed countless freshmen, but facing Dongfang Ming's natural talent was still a bit inferior. Talent, this is a natural moat. Raging, with a flick of his wrist, Lu Jun slashed and extinguished the fire. A large piece of crimson flame exploded in midair. Heat waves came and a burning smell permeated the air. The opponent's fire element is still ordinary fire, not like Qingyan after 2 years. However, Dongfang Ming smiled when he saw this, and he guessed right, as long as the casting speed is fast enough, his magic will not be interrupted. The old iron in the live broadcast room was also happy. Finally, someone who can fight has come. Before, those people couldn't even cast magic. Those who knew it were the top mages of Mingzhou University fighting, but those who didn't know it thought it was street gangsters fighting. Something's wrong. How can Dongfang Ming's magic be released so quickly? New here, you don't understand this. It's called innate talent, quick spellcasting. As Lu Junjian picked hundreds of people, more and more people flocked in to watch the Mingzhu's beast fighting competition. It's raging. The incident outside the field didn't stop Dongfang Ming from stopping his hands. He threw out a first-level fire in half a second, and his hands burned with red flames, like a ranger with 2 guns, Marco Polo, or a pea shooter. Fireballs shot continuously at an extremely fast speed. Lu Jun shook the golden épée, and the door-like light of the sword swept across his body. Like a black storm, all the fireballs bombarded were wiped out, and the surrounding fire started a prairie fire. He knew in his heart that to deal with an enemy like Dongfang Ming, it didn't matter what the 7 skills were, the gold system summoned in advance was the best one. Boom! I saw Lu Jun stepping on the blue wind track on his feet, waving the épée, and killing Dongfang Ming. Looking down from the sky, it was like a figure shuttled through the sea of fire. Like a broken bamboo, the flames receded where it passed, like 2 rows of fire walls separated. Whoosh! Unexpectedly, a gust of wind rose from Dongfang Ming's feet, and the whole person retreated at the same time. The speed was no slower than Lu Jun. It was the second type of wind magic, wind track. The two chased and fled, and circled the Colosseum. Dongfang Ming made up his mind to release only elementary magic. Lu Jun stopped, with a cold expression on his face. He stretched out his hand and shook it suddenly. Soon around the Colosseum, a large dark green spider web emerged from the air, densely packed and intertwined with each other, encircling Dongfang Ming's figure. Dongfang Ming was caught off guard and said in astonishment, "When did you set up the evil spider's trap?" He was full of confusion. He was obviously casting elementary level magic non-stop, and he dared to guarantee that the other party didn't even have room to release elementary level magic, let alone intermediate level magic. Hearing this, Lu Jun said lightly, "It was laid out at the beginning of the challenge." As soon as these words came out, Dongfang Ming was speechless, and he couldn't say that the opponent violated the rules. In the first 100 battles, Lu Jun also fought non-stop. It's normal to leave some advantages on the field, and he missed this point. Ji Yuhan announced his failure, and the audience was disappointed for a while. It's a pity, the brain is quite clever, but it's just not good enough. Many people were even more excited. It's okay, Mr. Lu has used middle-level magic, and after playing for so long, the magic consumption will inevitably be severe. If another 100 people come to hedge, this hard bone will be eaten away. Speed, speed, don't let him stop to breathe and recover his mana. On the court, Lu Jun breathed a sigh of relief. There was a world of difference between a mid-level mage with a natural talent and a non-talented one. Mo Fan's ability to defeat Dongfang Ming later was purely due to his own carelessness. If he kept using elementary magic like he did against him, Mo Fan would not be able to solve it in a short time, which would lead to the failure of the task of escorting the totem black snake. Including, he is also now, if he continues to consume, he can win, and even he still has at least half of the mana left in the guarantee system, but it will not be good for the subsequent battles. Simply stop the loss in time, and launch the evil spider's trap to subdue Dongfang Ming. Soon Lu Jun didn't rest, and freshmen appeared one by one, like moths flying to a flame, a steady stream. This is really thanks to Bai Zhengfeng. The mid-level mages are all second-guessed. These days favorites don't have any psychological burden. There are those who pursue profit, those who try to become famous, and those who have a fun mentality. 200, 300, 400. In a short period of time, a total of 500 people fell off their horses, and Wu Jun's épée was thrust into the ground. Lu Jun supported the hilt of the sword with both hands, panting heavily, his muscles ached all over his body, and he was mentally exhausted. Decline. It is not easy to kill 500 pigs, let alone 500 mages. Several hours had passed by this point, and it was already dark outside the Colosseum, but all the lights inside were turned on, the lights were brightly lit, and the fierce battle continued. The people in the live broadcast room came and went, and the people changed around, and the communication was obviously reduced, but the heat continued to spread as the battle continued, and it was out of the circle. Most of the office workers got off work and turned on their phones, feeling admiration. I'm off work, and I'm still playing. Which one is it? Do you guys count it? The 503rd, 666. Okay, let's explore again and report again. In the Colosseum, Huang Xingli went up to try. She is also a middle-level fire mage, but because she has no natural talent, she got the same treatment as Bai Zhengfeng without accident, and rolled down in a hurry. She returned to the backstage and said angrily, Ding Yumian, that guy is really too much. He wants to monopolize the resources of the entire system just because he has a rare curse system, but if I have a spiritual magic tool, why let a villain furious? After saying that, Huang Xingli took the beautiful woman's arm with both hands and began to say coquettishly, Sister Ding, you are the only one here with psychic magic, and you can restrain Lu Jun. Please help me. That's right, that's the resource of the whole department, we want to practice too. The girlfriends and female college students around were all egging on pitifully. Ding Yumian was helpless. Originally he didn't intend to pay attention to this kind of thing, but he couldn't pass the plea of his best friend, resources are too important for a mage. That's all, she sighed, I'm going to play now. After a while, the referee teacher announced that when Lu Jun was resting while leaning on the long sword, he saw a long black and straight Yuji slowly walking onto the stage, with a graceful figure, swaying every step, and a head of soft black hair braided into a net-like braid, giving people a very virtuous and gentle feeling. It is completely different from my sister's strong and hot aura. Lu Jun instinctively felt that the other party was not simple, it was a kind of spiritual vigilance. He stared at it and said, Name. Ding Yumian. The woman smiled lightly and reminded her kindly, How are you doing now? Do you want to rest for a while and recover your magic power? I think you are already very tired. Hearing this name, Lu Jun gasped, Ding Yumian is famous. Why is she in the same class as me? What a pity. Before the beast fighting competition, he didn't investigate and regarded everyone in the world as nothing. In fact, it was true, but who expected Ding Yumian to pop up? If he knew that she was there, Junlu would never challenge the whole school arrogantly. As for why he is so afraid, a victim of a spiritual disaster is enough to explain everything. Ding Yumian's victims were not like Mu Ningxie, who evolved slowly. They were born in the peak mode, bottomed out at the 6th level of the spiritual realm, and were still the most unpredictable spiritual system. It is said that when her mood fluctuated when she was a child, everyone in the school fluctuated accordingly. Once she had the idea of suicide, everyone around who was affected would commit suicide without hesitation. It even caused a disaster, and was taken away by Dean Xiao, who arrived later. He has been hiding in the snow for protection in Pearl University, cultivating in secret, learning to control emotions, and there are very few people who know about it. Lu Jun thought about it, and probably understood that Ding Yumian was young at first, but after 2 years, he became the top 10 player in the main campus. He enrolled in a class older than Mo Fan, which happened to be his class. The corners of his mouth were bitter. Aside from Ding Yumian's suspected middle-level psychic system, she herself has a second-tier fire system that is equally powerful, and her natural talent, doubles the attack range, is used to cover up the talent of the psychic system, and her combat power should not be underestimated. If Lu Jun's gold system can be fully activated, he may be able to defeat the opponent. Now that so many people are staring at him, it will inevitably reveal his secrets and cannot be used for the time being. Of course, the same is true for the other party. The identity of the victim of the spiritual department will not be revealed, and the two are exactly the same. Ding Yumian didn't act immediately, but instead gently restored Lu Jun to his peak state. This action made the audience in the live broadcast room feel good. It is undeniable that the impression of this face has greatly increased. Okay, those people just wanted to take advantage of others, they didn't have the courage of Pearl University, they were all intrigue. Wow, this female mage has a very good temperament, she is really beautiful and kind. Honey, kiss and hug, mwah. Knowing the sky, you man against the sky. Seeing this, Lu Jun was indeed touched. Ding Yumian was probably a very gentle person. The end of the original book was too sad. He was fooled and used by some corrupt elements to resist the demon by means of suicide. In the end, she chose to die for the safety of the entire demon capital, and temporarily repelled the invasion of the Kraken Empire with a spiritual nuclear bomb. Forcibly turning a potential seed with the pinnacle of the psychic forbidden curse into a one-time tool, and manipulating public opinion after it was done, it was all my own credit. Look, in this situation, Zhang Kong, Mo Fan, etc., why didn't Lu Jun work hard to protect himself? On the Colosseum, Lu Jun was silent, calculated in his heart, and said lightly, "Thank you for your kindness, but I said that they will all be defeated. Since you want to rob their resources, you should come here in an upright manner, and don't let them be represented. Defeat each one personally, and don't want to play tricks. If you are defeated, then you will die." As soon as this remark came out, not only the live broadcast room was boiling, but also the freshmen in the auditorium felt admiration. Bullshit is stupid, you should do whatever you can. But why do I envy such a person? It must be because I can't do it myself. Stop talking, Mr. Lu is a real man. It's over, it's obvious that there is a competition for resources, but I can't hate it. Hearing this, Ding Yumian was stunned, staring at the man holding the sword in front of him. His heart moved slightly, wondering if she might have done something wrong. Such a person seemed worthy of victory. In the end, she got serious. Since she was all on the court, she would go all out. This is the highest respect for her competitors. Then be careful, fierce fist rumble. Ding Yumian reminded that after controlling the star map, she didn't need to bless herself with the elementary spiritual wall of the psychic system, and her strong spiritual realm could easily resist the haze of fear. Immediately, she punched smoothly, and her dress fluttered, changing from a quiet beauty to a flamboyant and powerful queen of flames, surrounded by crimson flames. A large fan-shaped sea of flames is centered on itself, spraying wantonly, and a majestic wave of flames rushes out of the sky, covering an area almost comparable to the stormy waves of the water system. Ding Yumian is a little strange at this moment. The spiritual world is calm, and there is no disturbance at all. Why doesn't the other party use the power of the curse system? Soon, she saw the sky reaching blue radiance behind the other party, and a blue tide that was 3 times larger than her own flames washed over. Water system intermediate tide storm expulsion. It still comes with spirit seeds. The audience in the auditorium and the live broadcast room were shocked, and the vision in front of them was gorgeous. The two of them each occupied half of the river and mountain, intertwined with water and fire, half hot and dry, shining red, and half moist with water vapor, shining blue. This is magic, mastering the power of destruction. The 500 people who were defeated just now are just children's play. Powerful, it has widened the gap with elementary mages. Everyone was discussing. The waves of water and fire on the field had already collided, and the roar was loud. Whoops! The blue river coincided with the crimson sea of flames, a violent reaction occurred, and a large area of reddish water vapor rose, covering the sky with white mist, covering the entire scene of the Colosseum. It was very dangerous to have a barrier to protect it, otherwise the water vapor would burn the skin of the audience in the front row on a large scale. However, when the two fought against each other, Lu Jun's stormy waves of the water system were better. The continuous crimson flames could be seen swallowed by the naked eye, and the raging tide, engulfed in water vapor, attacked Ding Yumian endlessly. After all, it is a spiritual seed, and ordinary natural talents cannot compare. Ding Yumian frowned, and could only quickly control the star trail, releasing 3 balls of fire in a row. With the blessing of talent, he barely dissolved the water flow in front of him, can be absorbed partly. She felt a burst of exhaustion in her body, her dress was wet, and the water flowed down from her graceful figure. The wet silk dress was close to her exquisite body, revealing a graceful and moving curve. A pair of plump long legs were tightly wrapped, the front of the chest is translucent, the outlines of the 2 mountains are looming, and there are cherry trees blooming on the top of the mountain. It's a pity that no one saw this beautiful scene, and there was still a vast expanse of white and high-temperature steam surrounding her, covering up her moving figure. Seeing this, Ding Yumian's face became hot, and a crimson flame ignited to evaporate the moisture in the dress, and the beauty was fleeting. But before she could breathe a sigh of relief, she suddenly felt a jolt, sensing a figure of a man standing upright in the white mist in front of her. Lu Jun raised his sword and made a slashing movement, but stared at her blankly, without further words. At this moment, Ding Yumian's head was about to explode. Thinking of his own appearance just now, his face blushed, but he was completely watched by others, and his heart was extremely disturbed. As soon as her mood fluctuated, the power of her mind that she had managed to control leaked out. Before Lu Jun could say anything, he felt a wave of boundless spiritual force attacking him, and his expression changed drastically. Buzz buzz. Ding Yumian's eyes widened in a daze, her forehead was glowing, her black hair was fluttering, her toes were lightly lifted 3 feet from the ground, her dress was ethereal, an endless surge of mind surged out, distorting the surrounding air, the scorching white mist receded, a vacuum zone emerges. The one who bears the brunt is Lu Jun. He bears most of the pressure, and his eyes go dark for an instant. Even if he mobilizes the Curse Nebula, the soul stardust, and the thoughts are condensed into a wall, it will be broken through easily. Creak. Lu Jun's tall and straight figure bent slowly, with a tendency to kneel down, and his head was buzzing, and the floor around him was slightly cracked. He really felt the horror of the victims. Everyone was the same age, but their cultivation was far behind. In the future, when Mo Fan challenged Ding Yumian, the other party would definitely show mercy. Gradually, Lu Jun's consciousness became blurred and his face flushed, as if he had fallen into this emotional resonance. Seeing to be assimilated by Ding Yumian's mind. Get out. Suddenly, a strong unwillingness burst out in his heart. The gold-type nebula and water-type nebula in the spiritual world were exerting their strength. Coming from Bo City, slaying demons and demons, chasing down the Black Vatican, fighting fiercely with 500 people, ups and downs, he is worse than his peers in any way. Lu Jun's will was firm, like iron and steel, and the aura of sweeping the freshman rose for several hours. With the determination of his mind, a crystal flying sword in the center of the mind system rose into the sky under the hammer of external force, and slashed towards the crystal in the dark. The wall, the already crumbling barrier, was broken. Boo! A crisp sound echoed in my mind. The next moment, in Lu Jun's spiritual world, a piece of translucent stardust broke through the barrier, expanded rapidly, and turned into a majestic nebula in the blink of an eye, with 49 stars shining brightly. Psychic middle class. The second realm of spirit and idea. For a moment, in the dark universe, 4 nebulae complemented each other into brilliance, platinum, blue, dark green, transparent, and colorful, making this universe extraordinarily prosperous, as if many creatures were multiplying. That's right, relying on the powerful backfeeding that accompanied the nebula breakthrough of the mind system, Lu Jun's mind grew stronger, and also broke through the peak of the first level that had not been broken through for a long time, and reached the second level, and his consciousness suddenly became much clearer. The bonus brought is equivalent to a double spirit seed. The curse system itself has a curse mark, which is even more terrifying, and the same is true for the mind system. The self-created magic soul sword may cause high-level mental trauma. Of course, he is delighted to have a breakthrough in his cultivation base, the middle level of the 4 elements, but the most urgent thing is to wake up Ding Yumian. The wave of spirit from the other party was higher and higher. Lu Jun can now break through and resist it a little, but when it reaches a certain level, he will continue to fall sooner or later. So he gritted his teeth, walked up to Ding Yumian with difficulty against the transparent and distorted waves spreading around him, stared at Sister He Chengjiyu in front of him, stretched out a hand with difficulty and patted his shoulder, touching his skin. Even after a while, layers of clothing seemed to make women's skin smooth and tender. At the same time, Lu Jun sent his mind to the other party's spiritual world and said, "Quickly control your emotions." As soon as these words came out, Ding Yumian was awakened, and all her mental energy was absorbed immediately. Her levitating delicate body fell, staggered, and leaned against Lu Jun's solid shoulder. After a moment, the two who were almost embracing separated. Ding Yumian took a few steps back as if frightened, but she didn't lose control again. She blushed and said in a low voice, "I'm sorry, I almost hurt you, I really didn't mean to." Lu Jun felt the heavy pressure on his mind fade away like a tide, and he was obviously relieved. He took a deep look at the other party and said, "Your spiritual system is a little scary." Hearing this, Ding Yumian was a little nervous. Her secret was discovered, and what Dean Xiao ordered must not be revealed, otherwise the consequences would be worrisome. Unexpectedly, Lu Jun seemed to be fully aware of Ding Yumian's worries. With a smile on the corner of his mouth, "Don't worry, I won't tell the truth, and don't you know my secret? We all have each other's handles." Just kidding. Lu Jun was also afraid that she would continue to go crazy, so he quickly comforted her, although he really wanted to play a joke. "Ding Yumian, you don't want the highest authority Holy Inquisition to know that you are a victim of a spiritual disaster." Hearing this, Ding Yumian remembered that Lu Jun had just resisted the mind-type magic that erupted just now. Counting the curse-type and water-type magic he already had, there are 3 whole types, which is obviously abnormal. Only then did Ding Yumian feel relieved, but her face was still rosy. There were too many changes today. Her body was gone, her secret was discovered again, the two even hugged, they were going to die. In just a short while, she established a relatively intimate relationship with a strange man, and she was a little uncomfortable. Due to her quiet and slow temperament, she was caught off guard by such a thing. She was exhausted physically and mentally. She just wanted to be quiet, so she took a deep breath and said, "This matter is my fault. I admit defeat. We will talk later." "Okay." Lu Jun froze and nodded in agreement, thoughtful in his heart, recalling the mental pressure just now. In the past he had been suffering from the lack of a way to hone his mental strength, and was unable to take the initiative to improve. Many soul type, curse type, and dimension magic mages have experienced eternal battles and improved their cultivation bases before they break through naturally. Treasures of natural materials and earthly treasures are too rare. Now it seems that a victim of the psychic system is the best whetstone. At this time, the surrounding white fog gradually dissipated, and the collision between the two actually only happened within a short period of time. Outside, because the Colosseum was covered with white mist, no one could see the fighting situation inside, and there was a lot of discussion. Unexpectedly, besides the powerful curse system, Lu Jun also has a hidden system. Is that the spirit seed? The power of the water system is 3 times stronger than that of ordinary mages. A freshman, although both departments are at the first level of the middle class, but he has been cultivated very powerfully, and with that super magic tool, no one in his generation can match him. Spirit seed. Many old students in the main campus don't have it. Ah, you are all discussing seriously. Am I the only one who is playing CP? I'm also knocking on my sisters. The man is talented and the woman is beautiful. The former is confident and above board, while the latter is gentle and understanding. Wow, they are like a golden boy and a jade girl, a natural couple. He. What I want to say is that since ancient times, red and blue have produced CP, and fire and water are incompatible. A little brainstorming will turn into a novel of 1 million words. Little sweet potato girls, get lost, don't stay in this barbershop. Unlucky, watch a mage fight well, and these women are showing their presence again. When the fog cleared, everyone saw Lu Jun with a sword on Ding Yumian's neck, and the female mage chose to admit defeat. The students sighed, not surprisingly, and immediately became excited. Don't panic, he has finally forced out the middle level of his water system. Dongfang Ming and Ding Yumian have obviously consumed Lu Jun, and the big guys continue to charge. Lu Jun looked at Ding Yumian's graceful back as he stepped off the stage. In the spiritual world, 4 nebulae were ups and downs. The psychic system was promoted to the middle level. With the contained magic energy, he could use at least 100 psychic shocks to interrupt the mage's star track. All of a sudden, it gave him a powerful boost to single out all the freshmen. On the court, Lu Jun looked down at the audience and said calmly, "Next." After Ding Yumian stepped down from the stage, her emotions quickly returned to calm, and she gave herself a few doses of spiritual comfort, barely restraining that vast spiritual power. The best friend Huang Xingli at the side didn't notice anything, she just said regretfully, "Can't even beat him with yours. It seems that apart from the curse element, his water element is equally powerful." The 100 people in the backstage were basically all defeated, and then Lu Jun was in full swing, without any opponents, and each one was eliminated by one move. 600, 700, 800, 1000. A few more hours passed, from the evening when it was just dark to the early morning, and even the office workers were going to sleep and rest. Many people in the live broadcast room were hanging there, occasionally taking a look. The barrage continued one after another, and the fun people were entertaining themselves, betting how long they could fight. It's been 10 hours. She's physically abnormal. Whose girl is lucky to marry her? It's awesome. I'm convinced, this kind of shit deserves to be admitted to Pearl University, and deserves to be brilliant for a lifetime. The freshmen in the auditorium were a little numb. They saw that Lu Jun on the stage was out of breath. He abandoned his sword, but he stood still. The mental shock alone knocked out dozens of junior mages in a row, past. When the spiritual realm reaches the second level, no matter the spiritual impact of the spiritual system, or the haze of fear of the curse system, the power will rise in a straight line. After a round of brain power is almost exhausted, and the physical fitness is not badly recovered, he stands up like a good man again, continues to raise his sword and slash, and is eliminated domineeringly. Repeatedly and endlessly, one genius after another was carried away. They looked at the man whose face was covered in sweat and whose body and arms were trembling. Even though he was young and strong, he recovered quickly, but the soreness and fatigue of his muscles would continue to accumulate. The other party was now completely supported by perseverance. The freshman couldn't understand. "Lu Rentu, what kind of reason made you go down?" The elder sister Lu Mei, who was at home, didn't stare at her younger brother the whole time. She just sat on the sofa to practice after a few glances, trying to break through the high-level barrier as soon as possible, and when Yo-Yo woke up from deep meditation, it was already night and it was time to take a bath and rest. When she turned on the phone casually, she found that the live broadcast room was still going on. Lu Jun had been fighting for 10 hours. She couldn't help being slightly taken aback, staring blankly at her brother in the center of the fighting cage. There was a puddle of sweat on his feet, and his thin body showed signs of dehydration. Lu Mei had to admit that at a time like this, a man's fortitude and domineering almost overflowed through the screen. He was extremely charming and strongly attracted everyone. Similarly, Tang Yu in Hangzhou on the other side finished a mission and returned home a little tired. She turned on her mobile phone and saw Lu Jun's battle. 1,000 people, in the past, would undoubtedly be killing gods. Including other people who are still watching the live broadcast, whether they are ordinary people, civilian children, mages, or dark people with evil intentions, all of them are moved, recalling Lu Jun's killing before Mingzhu started school. "I'm not afraid of people being lunatics, but I'm afraid of the kind of people with great perseverance. Once they insist on something, they will kill you even if they chase you to the ends of the earth." Hoo. Lu Jun was panting violently. The gold system, soul, and curse in his mind were almost dry, and the most important thing was that his consciousness tended to be blurred, and his body was unconscious. With his clear judgment, it may be difficult to continue, and his body will collapse if he goes down. Even a body that has been baptized by the magic of a mage has limits. But Lu Jun will not give up. He has a kind of persistence or madness. He likes to fight heartily and drippingly, and it is endlessly fun to fight with others. And the long-lost water nebula gave back this enthusiasm. When he swiped his sword to slash a ball of thunder light again, his physical strength broke through a certain limit. The dry body is constantly tempered like the tide. Crash! Lu Jun was stunned for a moment. The sound of the waves echoed faintly in his body. The cells and flesh greedily absorbed the magic energy like a sponge, and became stronger continuously, and a layer of dark blue faintly appeared on his fair skin. Although he is exhausted now, his perception is not obvious. He just breathed a sigh of relief, and his physical condition has improved, but he is sure that his physical vitality has increased a bit. The title Spirit Seed baptized his physique once during refining, which made him surpass ordinary people, and this time he showed a bit of magic. Maybe Nebula Mana has the possibility of refining his body. Lu Jun didn't have the energy to pay attention to this matter, and focused on the battle. Perhaps because of his shaky performance, many opportunistic people discovered the possibility of defeat, and the number of applications for challenges increased. To this group of people, the freshmen in the auditorium responded with contempt. To tell the truth, everyone was so convinced that they had nothing to say, but they couldn't control how others chose. 1,200 people, 1,400 people, 2,000 people. A few hours passed after the early morning, and half of the freshmen at Pearl Academy were on stage. The lights of the Coliseum were on all night, and many old students who watched the theater couldn't bear to leave one after another and went back to the dormitory to practice. That's right, it's cultivation. The ghosts knew that they saw how outrageous Lu Jun's fighting was, and they felt a strong sense of urgency in their hearts. The freshmen are so busy, and if the seniors don't work hard, they will be finished when the other party enters the main campus. Of course, their blood was excited. Anyone who watched the live broadcast seemed to be poured several bowls of chicken soup, turned off the video, and immediately fought. In addition, the professors and teachers of the Pearl Institute were drowsy, and the head of the summoning department was weak. The sky is bright outside the museum, all night long. There has never been a mage who can fight for a day and a night, and now such a person has appeared. With the dawn, the office worker got up, turned on the phone and checked, it was still playing. Taking a deep breath, the enthusiasm soared, and it quickly spread to all major websites. In line with the previous, "Everyone here is garbage" emoji package, now it is also screenshotted and made into, "Who else?" Single quote. The freshmen looked at Lu Jun in a daze. The body that seemed to be falling was actually a wall of despair. He stood in the center of the Coliseum of Pearl Academy like an unbeatable god of war. What Lu Rentu, this is the first Iron Man in history. Everyone prayed silently, unable to tell if they wanted Jun Lu to continue fighting, or they hoped that someone would pick him down and end the nightmare. At this moment, Lu Jun's 3-system nebula has dried up, leaving only the water system nebula that has not been used much. Now he is barehanded, and only blesses himself with the blue water aura, surrounded by several glistening streams of water, interwoven into a water armor robe, and then rushes up to the mage under the baptism of elementary magic. War. His blood boiled, regardless of the flame burns, frostbite, and even restrained his thunder and electric shocks and other scars. The challengers are all confused. The body of an intermediate mage, plus the 2 baptisms of the water-type spiritual species, is simply an adult beating a child. Jun Lu didn't know how long the battle lasted. He kept fighting, draining every trace of his potential. His eyes turned red, the challengers in front of him appeared on stage, the rotation was fast, and one by one failed and exited. Finally, he heard the yawning referee next to him say, "Who else comes on stage? Wait a few more minutes, and if no one comes up, it will be considered a loss." All the freshmen in the Coliseum were silent, looking at Mr. Lu. There was no throne under him, and there was no corpse, but they were already full of corpse, cast into a throne. The countdown is 3 seconds. 3.2.1. Good. The beast fighting competition is over, and Lu Jun has obtained the resources of the whole department. Lu Jun was in a trance, and when he heard the teacher's ruling, he was shocked, and he barely produced a burst of energy. He looked around, and most of the freshmen had already known each other. After all, he lost a total of 2,500 people, accounting for 2/3 of the freshmen. Well, when Pearl Academy was number 1, it is now. When he said that he beat the Pearl all over the world, he meant it literally. All the freshmen of the same year were beaten. On the Mingzhu forum all night long, someone joked that a dog passing by would be punched by this mainlander. After Dean Xiao made the decision, all the freshmen were silent, and they were not filled with righteous indignation like Mo Fan in the original book when Lu Jun plundered the entire department's resources. The main reason is that Mo Fan only defeated 200 representatives, and some of them fought by tricks. Of course, most of the freshmen refused to accept it and fell into a state of isolation. Anyone who stepped up wanted to step on him. As for Lu Jun, he actually eliminated everyone with his own hands, and it was an extremely unfair wheel battle, so he had no more excuses to say anything. Some people were really dissatisfied, and there was no need for Lu Jun to take action. A large group of people attacked together, absolutely mocking. Where were you at the time? Were you there? It's okay to be on stage. Those who don't dare to play don't want to be in Mingzhu. Are you ashamed? Dean Xiao smiled and said, everyone is very tired after a hard night. Of course, being a winner is even more tiring. After a fierce battle all night, I won't talk nonsense. He paused and said, I'm very pleased that I can see the future of mankind. As soon as this remark came out, the audience was shocked. They could see that Dean Xiao had a very high opinion of Lu Jun. He didn't talk about excellence, he didn't talk about Zhu's future, he didn't even talk about China's future, he just talked about the future of mankind. But after thinking about it, the students, including the audience in the live broadcast room, deeply agreed. They didn't think carefully during the beast fighting competition, and they came back to their senses after the end. Is this human? Day and night, the Great War appeared in reality. Again, no matter how much you blow it, you can't exaggerate it. The various memes of this battle have spread widely. Many people don't know who Lu Jun is, and they are not interested in knowing, but they all play memes. This situation is amazing. Reasonably, the Demon City Beast contest is just an event. It was really unexpected that such an unpopular live broadcast could cause such a big disturbance. Fortunately, Lu Rentu and Bochung's Sword Immortal, the two are not connected, and they are regarded as an independent image. Here, Lu Jun is only regarded as a freshman with potential, which saves a lot of trouble. Because of this, he is also famous. If one day it is discovered that the two are the same person, I am afraid that it will cause turbulent public opinion. After Dean Xiao finished speaking, he quickly dismissed all the students. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief, and they all appeared on the stage one after another, and the subsequent discussions continued to affect them. On the Colosseum, Lu Jun's tense mental body relaxed, and suddenly he was heavy and tired like a tide, surging up wave after wave. He couldn't even walk, his spirit was dizzy, his whole body was sore, and he was about to fall to the ground. No one noticed his strangeness, or in the eyes of those freshman teachers, he had already become a god, omnipotent, an Iron Man who could not be defeated or collapsed at all. People are in awe, fighting with open flames in the magic capital, bloody battles against the Black Vatican, wheel-to-wheel battles in the beast competition, and the massacre of Lu Ren every day and night. Even the unfinished audience in the live broadcast room didn't notice it. Only Lu Mei and Tang Yu, who had been staring at Lu Jun all the time, keenly noticed something was wrong and frowned. At this time, Lu Jun couldn't take it anymore. The world was spinning in front of his eyes, and he seemed to fall to the ground, thinking in his mind, my heroic and majestic image can't last for a while. Fortunately, before that, Ding Yumian, who was about to leave the stage backstage, looked back at the ring by mistake, and immediately felt Lu Jun's fatigue. She hesitated for a moment, then shook her head at the urging best friend, turned around with her skirt fluttering, and walked lightly towards the fighting cage with lotus steps. When Lu Jun was about to fall, he suddenly felt his arms and shoulders sink into a softness. A woman walked in beside him, supported his body, and a burst of body fragrance wafted over him. Ding Yumian's gentle voice sounded, "Are you okay?" Hearing this, Lu Jun was taken aback, and looked at her in surprise, but he didn't expect Ding Yumian to help him in the end. The girlfriends watching from a distance were stunned, clearly showing a gossip-like aunt's smile, joking, "No one knows the name of Lu Jun's real man, he is strong and powerful, and his reputation is 100 times better than that of Mo Fan in the future." Many college girls have been convinced for a long time, regardless of seniors and juniors, who is not confused by this endurance and tenacity. Seeing that Ding Yumian had already stepped forward, the hesitant pretty girls were too late to regret. The audience and freshmen in the live broadcast room even screamed, "Ah, kill me, I can't take it anymore, why is there someone who is strong, handsome, and hugged by beauties? He, since ancient times, red and blue have produced XP, huh? This girl is right, the two hook up now, love on the battlefield, and capable people are attracted to each other." Ding Yumian's face was slightly red, and she was not used to being noticed by everyone. She didn't know how she reached out to help Lu Jun, probably because of the previous accident, she felt guilty. Or admire this man from the bottom of my heart. Seeing this scene, Lu Mei in Jinyuan apartment was expressionless, turned around and went straight downstairs, and immediately drove the high-end car bought for hundreds of thousands to the Pearl Academy. At this moment, Ding Yumian whispered, "Where do you want to go now?" It was very difficult for Lu Jun to speak. He thought about it for a while and felt a bit at a loss. He doesn't live in Pearl Academy, and Jinyuan apartment is not far away, but his physical condition can't make it through. Right now his head was groggy, it was at its limit. Besides, Lu Jun could feel that Ding Yumian was very nervous, her quiet personality seemed to be social fear, and she wanted him to take him back to the apartment. Tisk tisk tisk, probably impossible. Don't you see, during the battle just now, when he saw her wet body, he erupted in small bursts, and if he stimulated all the way, the devil would be in chaos. Lu Jun had a headache and said, "Hiss, can you bring me to the school gate and make a call for me?" His arms are so sore now that he can't lift them up. Ding Yumian pursed her lips. She was a girl calling a boy acquaintance, wouldn't that be a misunderstanding? Is it difficult? He sighed and said, "Then you help me to the Colosseum, and then I will figure out a solution by myself." Ding Yumian was kind-hearted, and reluctantly nodded. "It's okay, your mana is exhausted, you'd better rest quickly. I'd better take you there." Hearing this, Lu Jun remained silent, and if the girl doesn't care, he shouldn't be hypocritical. The two walked slowly to the Colosseum with their arms, and the speed was relatively slow. Lu Jun leaned half of his body on Ding Yumian's body, touching a large piece of soft skin, which made the girl's cheeks blush. That kind of soft and warm feeling is true intoxicating. Especially after the war, when you are exhausted, it is no wonder that ancient beauties are the gentle hometown of heroes. But Ding Yumian didn't say anything. She could see that Lu Jun was trying to control it, but it was just that the fuel was exhausted. After a while, the two walked slowly outside the Colosseum. The freshmen were all leaving, yawning and going back to the dormitory to practice. The road was a bit congested, but fortunately Lu Jun was famous, no one dared to approach him, and a large area was vacated. When they left the Colosseum, there were not many people watching the show. But before Lu Jun asked Ding Yumian to make a call, a dark and domineering off-road vehicle drove up on the campus road, and the voice was dull, resounding through the campus in the early morning. The dense flow of students on the side of the road spread out to both sides. They were amazed. There were so many luxury cars in Pearl University, which were commonplace, but most of them could not drive into the campus. Although this car was relatively ordinary, it was able to come in. The background was unusual. When Lu Jun saw this car with sharp eyes, his eyebrows twitched slightly. It was obvious that his family bought it for the work of the city's monster hunting team. Did my sister arrive so soon? In an instant, under the curious eyes of many freshmen, the off-road vehicle stopped in front of Lu Jun and the two, and then the main driver's door opened. First, a pair of slender and round black silk legs stretched out, and the jade feet were wrapped in high black boots. Then a royal lady came down from above, wearing a black silk suit and short skirt, a white shirt and a black windbreaker on her upper body, with a charming face, charming red lips, tall figure, and fruity twigs. She looked full of aura. Ding Yumian on the side looked like a little girl in front of her. Seeing this, Lu Jun's eyes widened. He had never seen his sister look like this. Lu Mei usually dressed plainly. She often saw her tender white and smooth thighs exposed at home. It's okay to get used to it. Now the thin and black silk is concealed, but it is even more alluring if it is looming. Little did they know, the students on the way had been taken aback for a long time, full of envy and hatred. Originally, it was enviable for a beauty like Ding Yumian to help. Suddenly, a domineering and mysterious elder sister drove into the campus and stopped in front of Lu Jun. This was like a plot in a dream, a movie, or a novel. At the same time, they gloated a little. Ding Yumian was one, and Yu Jia was the other, so the two of them couldn't fight. Passers-by watching the excitement is not a big deal. Boring. I want to see the Shira field, I want to see blood flow into rivers. Lu Jun was swept away by his sister's beautiful eyes, and he felt guilty for some reason. There was nothing at all, nothing happened at all, and he planned to ask Ding Yumian to call Lu Mei, calmly. Whoever thought that the other party came in person, and was caught in the act of supporting the two, a man and a woman are not necessarily intimate and would not do this. But soon, his weak heart subsided, and turned into warmth and reassurance, which showed that Lu Mei had been paying attention to him, and he was at his weakest right now, and he was basically safe with his sister. Ding Yumian was a little unnatural. Her keen mind sensed that the woman in front of her had a slight hostility towards her, or the desire to control mixed with love. She knew that she had been misunderstood, and that the other party was deliberately dressing up as a demonstration. Sister. Lu Jun broke free from Ding Yumian's support, stepped forward to hug her elder sister Lu Mei, clasped her slender waist with both hands, hung on her curved buttocks, and collapsed limply in her arms. He put his head down and took a deep breath, resting his face on the soft side, drowsy. Before Ding Yumian helped, men and women were different, and Lu Jun's body was tense due to the lack of familiarity. Only with Lu Mei, he was very at ease and didn't have too many scruples. Seeing this, Lu Mei's heart ached very much. She rushed over and felt inexplicably uncomfortable, but now seeing her younger brother like this, she was completely lost and full of love and affection. She hugged Lu Jun tightly with both arms, and smiled gently at Ding Yumian. "Thank you very much." "It doesn't matter." Ding Yumian shook her head, feeling a little weird and awkward in her heart, but she was kind and didn't care. Then, the two helped Lu Jun into the car together, and the black domineering off-road vehicle slowly drove out of the school. All the people who watched secretly were stunned. So harmonious, high, really high. Back home, Lu Jun was so exhausted that he fell asleep. After getting out of the car, Lu Mei aggressively hugged her younger brother by the waist, carefully placed him on the bed, brought warm water, and gently wiped his younger brother's body with a wet towel. She pursed her lips and complained, "Really, why are you working so hard? 3 days and 3 nights have passed since the end of the beast fighting contest. Although it only circulates in the circle of junior mages and mid-level mages who pay attention to the school, the internet is still hot. At least it is famous in 1/3 of an acre of land in Shanghai. Of course, it's not enough compared to the big national events, but I don't worry about disturbing Lu Jun's life." On the campus forum, someone specially posted a rating post, rating any new geniuses with names and surnames. From Bai Zhengfang, Dongfang Ming, Huang Xingli, Ding Yumian, Lu Jun, etc., they are all intermediate level mages, and the junior level mages, forget it, cannot be ranked. The following posts are refreshed quickly. First of all, the evaluation of Bai Zhengfang is relatively high, with 7 points. Bai pulled me to laugh, but it was really courageous. Yes, the ignorant are fearless. Without him going up first, maybe all the freshmen in the school would freeze there. It would be embarrassing. Lu Rentu, who is not afraid. He has really killed the freshmen of the same class, and the Black Vatican. It is also scary. Well, you keyboard warriors, who would dare? Bai Zhengfang. Failure always runs through life from beginning to end, so I've been working on it since the beginning. Then came Dongfang Ming, who scored 8 points. Yes, how is our Eastern family, and we are not weaker than Mr. Lu on the scene. Yes, a child of an aristocratic family, born with talent. Alas, the advantage is too great. Ordinary mages are desperate. Krypton and Europe, how to break. Until Ding Yumian received Lu Jun's highest evaluation, 9 points. The loser's MVP, who agrees? Who opposes? Sisters are amazing. Women can hold up half the sky. The only existence that can compete with Lu Jun in middle-level magic, one of the twin stars of water and fire. To be honest, Ding Yumian is already very strong, but it's a pity that he met Lu Jun. Strong strength, beauty first, benefits. Beautiful mage, Chiliu. Wife, Chiliu. He, your wife has long been someone else's. I'm afraid you don't know it. After the beast competition left, Ding Yumian went to help Mr. Lu himself. He. Help him. Alert, which one to help? Woo, I'm going to die. I'm so uncomfortable, I can't sleep at night. This is not the most exciting thing. Zheng Lu has another beautiful woman who drove a luxury car into the school. They hugged left and right, and sent them to the car together. That's right, I saw it too, but your rumors are getting more and more outrageous. Ding Yumian didn't get in the car. The topic below the post is getting more and more biased. Perhaps after any strong person reaches a certain height, there is no way to avoid being gossiped. In the girls' dormitory, Huang Xingli pointed at her mobile phone angrily, and said to Ding Yumian, "These people are too much. Obviously you two have nothing to do with each other. Who the hell would have known that Lu Jun already had someone?" The girlfriends learned everything and began to fight against injustice. Ding Yumian shook her head slowly, flipped through the book quietly and read, with an elegant and skillful demeanor. She didn't care about anyone's gossip. After a few days she regained her calm. In the Jinyuan apartment, Lu Mei was sitting on the bedside, with a pair of slender long white legs gracefully crossed. She came across this post that was reproduced on the official website of Mingzhu, and smiled. This brat is really attractive. She glanced at the sleeping boy on the bed. If the teacher of the healing department hadn't said that this was a normal phenomenon of mana exhaustion, mental exhaustion, and physical exhaustion, she might have been worried. Then, Lu Mei continued to scroll through the posts. It was too much. In the end, regarding Lu Jun's evaluation, her beautiful eyes lit up, and she read it quickly. 10. Must be 10. Lu Jun, you are my god. 10 is just the upper limit of the system, not your upper limit. The evaluation is the god of the gods. Fight against a real man for a day and a night, defeating 3,000 newborn Lu Rentu. Lu Jun, everyone here is rubbish. Who else? Some people have been on the earth for a long time, and they forget their roots. Alien Face JPG. Blood drawing is strongly recommended. There is not a drop of blood in the doping. In addition to these simple touting posts, there are also some long post analysis, which are touted from various angles. The failure of the beast fighting contest made me feel complicated. I was on the stage and I was vulnerable. I defeated thousands of people by myself. The gap is too big. It seems natural to occupy most of the resources. In the extraordinary world, individual excellence is often more important than the collective. What moved me was that Mr. Lu was willing to show. He at least regarded us all as opponents. Actually, he doesn't have to do this at all. Killing 1,000 pigs by himself will be exhausted. The probability of failure is extremely high and the risk is high. If you want to ask us why we don't resent that man when we have been robbed of resources, that's probably the reason. There are a lot of hot comments below, and they all agree. That's right, with Mr. Lu's courage, he was even tougher with the Black Vatican before he entered school. I think this kind of person should give up all the resources to him. With his envious and upright character, he will become a good guard of human beings in the future. Mage. When Lu Mei saw this, she was deeply moved. She knew in private what kind of person Lu Jun was, whether he was good or bad. This is the importance of character design. But having said that, the Battle of Lu Junbo City, the Demon City's suppression of the Black Vatican, which one is not a righteous and awe-inspiring matter, is more powerful than many judges. The so-called deeds regardless of the heart, pretending to be a good person all his life, that is a good person. Aha! Just as Lu Mei was thinking, there was a soft hum from the bed. Looking back, it was the sound of Lu Jun's waking breathing. Lu Jun's consciousness emerged from the darkness. His whole body was aching and his head was a little dizzy. When he opened his eyes, he saw a strange ceiling. Ah, it's from his own house. He was a little confused, and felt that there was someone beside him. He turned his head and saw a buttocks close at hand, tightly wrapped in short denim. Seeing this scene, Lu Jun was slightly taken aback, and looked up. Plump waist, straight back, 3,000 black hair hanging down, and a beautiful side face. Only then did he realize that it was Lu Mei who turned his back on him. Lu Mei turned to her side and said softly, "Are you awake today? How do you feel?" Although the beautiful buttocks are gone, but for convenience, she naturally put a slender beautiful leg on the bed. Looking at the white thigh below the hot pants from the side, the straight and well-proportioned calf, and jade feet. "Ha!" Lu Jun blushed a little while stealing a glance, and said in a low voice, "I'm a little tired, just take a rest." Lu Mei scolded, "A bit. No matter how brave you are, you'll be useless. Don't do that next time." He nodded quickly, changed his clothes, wiped off some dust, dirt, and sweat, knowing that he had caused Lu Mei trouble. At the end, there was a moment of silence between the two of them. Lu Jun smelled the pleasant scent of shower gel next to him, and his body continuously released heat, warming his face, and he couldn't help thinking wildly. As everyone knows, Lu Mei's face is a little red now, and she was the one who took care of Lu Jun during his deep sleep. Originally, Lu Jun didn't wake up, and she could wait calmly, but when Lu Jun woke up, she was a little embarrassed. So Lu Mei changed the topic and said, "You just woke up, you must be hungry, you slept for 3 days and 3 nights, don't eat such stimulating food when you get up, I cooked porridge for you. After the words fell, Lu Jun returned to his senses and struggled to get up. Hey, Lu Meixian pressed Lu Jun's shoulder with her hand, made him lie down, and said in a low voice, you just recovered, don't move rashly, I'll just feed you. Lu Jun looked strange. In fact, his body, which had been baptized twice by the tidal spirit, could move a long time ago, so there was no problem. However, he took a sneak peek at Lu Mei. Lu Mei's beautiful eyes like autumn water were drooping, black pupils with a bit of shyness, black hair drooping around her ears, her neck was white and tender, and her gentle wifely demeanor was heart-pounding. So Lu Jun, shamelessly ignorant of his conscience, obediently agreed. Lu Mei breathed a sigh of relief, calmed down, picked up the hot meat porridge on the counter, and prepared to feed it to Lu Jun. She shook a spoonful and blew it gently. After letting it cool down, she found it inconvenient to feed it into Lu Jun's mouth, who was lying flat, and easily choked on it. At this time, Lu Mei was worried, and suddenly thought of something. Her eyes lit up, she put down the bowl and spoon, stretched her right leg, patted her big white leg and said, lie your head on my lap. Hearing this, Lu Jun's eyes widened. Before he could react, Lu Mei stretched out a pair of jade hands, lifted the back of her head, and gently placed it on her lap, leaning her back against her thigh. Lu Jun only felt that his head was resting on a soft place, and the top of his head was arched. Pa, Lu Mei couldn't help but pat Lu Jun on the shoulder, and whispered, ah. Don't move around. It was only then that Lu Mei realized that her behavior was too intimate. Although Lu Mei's slap was as gentle as a caress, Lu Jun still remained calm so as not to offend Lu Mei. Afterwards, Lu Mei fed him mouthful after mouthful, with careful movements, and occasionally tested the temperature with the tip of her tongue, which was completely subconscious. When it was over, her face turned rosy. Seeing that Lu Jun closed his eyes and didn't notice it, she fed it in a broken can, indirectly. This porridge made Lu Mei extremely embarrassed, but she lowered her head and caressed the young man's hair, recalling that time, when Lu Jun was only 7 or 8 years old, when she was sick, she also fed him mouthful like this. She put the empty bowl and spoon on the bedside counter, and before she knew it, the bowl of porridge was finished. And this brat actually fell asleep. Lu Mei's face was slightly red, and she half-hugged Lu Jun in her arms. Lu Jun turned his body sideways and wrapped his arms around her, so that she would not dare to move rashly. The warm posture of the siblings lasted until the afternoon, and Lu Mei also sat like this. Until Lu Jun woke up faintly again, his energy and spirit returned to the peak, and the 4 nebulae in the spiritual world were shining brightly. Naturally, Lu Mei also saw that Lu Jun was getting better, and pushed his head away in disgust. When she got up and got out of bed, she staggered and almost fell down. Lu Jun's leg was left on for too long, even the mage's physique was sore and unbearable. As a last resort, she leaned on the wall and walked out of the room step by step. Seeing this, Lu Jun was stunned. Lu Jun got up, stretched his waist, went to wash and brush his teeth, and then came to the living room. My sister went back to her room, but she left behind a table of sumptuous dinner before she left. This is the bad thing about Jinyuan apartment, the 2 apartments are separated, so I can't see Lu Mei all the time. After dinner, he sat on the sofa, looked inside the spiritual world, and sorted out his cultivation. The 4 pieces of platinum, blue, dark green, and transparent nebula complemented each other brilliantly. After a day and night of bloody battles, the second realm of spirit and consciousness was consolidated. The next step is to master the middle-level magic of the mind system, and master the skills of the curse system. The mid-level magic of the mind system is called Xin Lian, and it is also not very lethal. Compared with the first level, Ling Yi, the difference is that it has evolved from a single body to a group, and its power has also increased a lot. Take the intermediate level mind control as an example. The evolutionary version of the first level appeasement can appease violent servant level monsters and even warrior level monsters in a large area. At this point, going out to hunt monsters in the wild, every spiritual mage is a treasure. And the so-called mind control, appeasement is only one aspect, it can also stimulate the monster, act as a mockery, and even control the monster. Lu Jun remembered that 2 years later, when Mo Fan went to Dunhuang, he took Xingxia, a spiritual mage, with him, and the journey went smoothly. Many powerful warriors were appeased and many unnecessary battles were avoided. It should be noted that there are three factions of spiritual mages in the world. One is the fantasy system, the other is the taming beast system, and the other is the combat system that interrupts other people's magic. Original text. His past Sword of the Soul belonged to the combat system, and his style also tended to this faction, and now it may involve the category of taming demons. Of course, the real beast taming is not that simple, just like the British royal family Victoria of the international dragon taming family, or the domestic Aquila troupe. They support many psychic mages, and they also have special medicine recipes. In other words, without the support of big forces, this kind of mind mage is useless. It's enough to briefly touch on it. Demons are not trustworthy, and only the contract of the summoning system is truly reliable. Lu Jun shook his head. His original intention was to forcefully control a few generals to serve as temporary meat shield cannon fodder during the battle, and throw them away when they are used up. With his cultivation in the second level of spirit, the spiritual system should be stronger than Xingxia. In addition, Lu Jun also unexpectedly gained another benefit in the bloody battle of the beast fighting competition. That is the magical effect of the tidal spirit of the water system, which made his body stronger. This cannot help but make him think deeply. Maybe it is not the two methods of curse system and poison system to improve his body. According to speculation, there are roughly two reasons for why his physical body is improved. One is that the water system is extremely soft, and the magic energy can be absorbed by the human body under certain conditions. Eyes can arouse the power of the highest tide in the ocean, pointing directly to the highest truth of the water system. Swimming is the best way to keep fit and improve physical fitness. Under the washing and beating of the sea tide, the body absorbs magic energy, and perhaps it can really hone a physique comparable to that of a demon. This is not the tricky method of the curse type or the poison type. Water breathing. Is it possible to realize what I was joking about back then? Lu Jun has a strange expression on his face, but this requires high magical attainments, at least high-level control ability, and profound theoretical knowledge. And Pearl Academy is such a place. Any department has accumulated many ideas and practices of predecessors, taught a wealth of magic theory, can avoid many detours, and innovate. Judging from the fusion magic and the whole series of magic after 1989, the accumulation of the whole French society is enough, and there is only one opportunity to realize the great leap. Lu Jun didn't stay at home all the time. He had a rest with his sister for a few days, and then went back to school. In fact, Pearl Academy had already started school for a week, but considering his situation, he was granted a half-month leave to let the heat drop a little. He also posted videos at home, and the videos were shot by the audience and posted on the internet one after another. After careful editing, the day and night battle was shortened and fast-forwarded, and the BGM was added. Fortunately, many people didn't know about the Pearl Academy and the beast fighting competition, so it didn't cause any big public opinion. Now that the temperature has cooled, Lu Jun went straight to Dean Xiao's office to ask for a reward. At the desk, an old professor wearing glasses said cheerfully, "You are here, please sit down." "Hey, principal, this resource." Lu Jun was in the state of rubbing his hands like a fly, and asked in embarrassment. "Of course it has been prepared a long time ago." Dean Xiao adjusted his glasses and said with a smile, "We have studied the resources of all departments in Qing campus, most of the Stardust magic weapons, and each department is different, and the price is also different. You may not be able to use it. Even if it is converted, it will be very troublesome." Hearing this, Lu Jun nodded. That's the reason. He doesn't even need the nebula magic weapon now. The white tiger pendant is enough. The reason why the curse system and the soul system can quickly rise to the middle level is the subtle contribution of the white tiger pendant. Although the usual sense of existence is very low, but there are many follow-up functions, which need to be further repaired and excavated. Dean Xiao said, "So I plan to let you enter the 3-step pagoda to practice for 7 days, and at the same time open the school's treasure house, choose a powerful mid-level magic tool, and how about 5 million funds by the way?" Yes. Hearing this, Lu Jun was delighted. It was the same as Mo Fan in the original book, except that the quality of the magic equipment would be improved a bit, and the funds would be more sufficient. It is probably because he did not get the summoning type animal refining blood. The magic equipment in the college's treasury comes from various sources, issued by the Ministry of Education, collected and forged by the college itself, and donated by outstanding alumni. There are many good things in it. 3-step pagoda. Needless to say, the Pearl Academy is proud of its world-class support. Generally, only the top 50 masters of each department on the main campus can go in and practice for a day or two. It is said that this tower was built by a super master of the space system. It is suspected of being a forbidden curse, and it is even a master of formations. Similar to Dongtian Fudi. The speed of 1 day's practice inside is at least equal to 1 month outside. Of course, Junlu is not in a hurry to go in. He has just made breakthroughs in multiple departments, and he needs to consolidate his cultivation to reach the extreme. Only by going in and breaking through in the bottleneck period can he obtain the best results. However, regardless of the 3-step tower or the magic treasure house, to a certain extent, the college itself has leveled the books, empty-handed, and there is no need to convert the public resources of the freshmen of the department. It can also be said that the resources of these people still exist, and the follow-up college will increase the assessment requirements, not only will not affect the cultivation resources of the freshmen, but will improve the overall quality under the stimulation. Lu Jun discovered this blind spot. 1 year after the original work, Mu Jiaonu generously donated money. In fact, the school doubled its resources. Then, he followed Dean Xiao to choose magic equipment, such as armor magic equipment, magic cutting equipment, wing magic equipment, special magic equipment, etc. He also saw the spiritual necklace that Mo Fan had originally obtained. It can be said that without this item, Mo Fan had died countless times in front of mind mages and monsters. It's a pity that Lu Jun's quota is not rich, and super magic tools such as super level and high level can only be seen, and even the middle level magic wings and armor cannot be selected. Magic equipment is an indispensable helper for mages. Among all kinds of magic equipment, magic wings and magic armor are the most expensive. The former flies, and the material is special, so it is hard to find. The latter wraps the whole body, uses a lot of materials, and is expensive. In the end, Lu Jun picked and chose a magic shield, which can withstand the full blow of any warrior level, even a warrior in the advanced stage. It's called Xuanming Turtle Armor Shield, a water attribute magic tool that can be used in conjunction with the water shield. It is made of a warrior level sea monster material called Xuanming Turtle, and its quality is excellent. At least it can protect Lu Jun's middle level domain comprehensively. Why did he choose the magic shield? It's very simple. The form is different. He is all middle level magic, which is either output or control and assistance. He lacks the same level of defensive skills. Shuiyu and Zhenjin Ape are invincible against the servant class, and the middle class is somewhat lacking. The advantage of magic equipment is that it can be summoned instantly, and the key is to save a life. When Lu Jun is at a high level, then defense is not necessary anymore, and the high-level water system water bloom canopy is enough, so it can be said that it depends on the stage to choose. He also has the magical walking equipment Albatron boots, which is enough for the slave level and the warrior level. After seeing Lu Jun's choice, Dean Xiao smiled kindly and said, "Work hard, and you will be able to achieve something in the future." "Thank you, Dean, for being optimistic," Lu Jun said gratefully. For a moment, he was holding a piece of pitch-black round tortoise shell, with circles of ripples on the surface like dark swirls, crystal clear. On the spot, Lu Jun couldn't wait to refine the Xuanming Turtle Armor Shield. In the spiritual world, in addition to the 4 nebulae, there are 2 imprints, a boot imprint and a tortoise shell imprint, which are 2 magic tools. Seeing this, Lu Jun was satisfied. Just as he was about to leave, Dean Xiao suddenly shouted behind him, "Wait, there is one more thing." Hearing this, Lu Jun turned his head and asked in doubt, "What is it?" "A private matter." Dean Xiao pondered for a moment, then said very gently, "You also know the secret of Ding Yumian's child, right?" Hearing this, Lu Jun frowned, his scalp was numb, he seemed to be bullying a little girl, and his father-in-law rushed to the door, weird. He shook his head quickly, he didn't do anything to apologize to Ding Yumian, there is no need to panic. He smiled shyly and said, "Dean, I guarantee absolute secrecy." "Don't be nervous," Dean Xiao said with a smile. "That girl Ding Yumian told me that your secret is not small, I believe you will keep it a secret." He paused and said, "I mean, the 2 of you can get in touch." Ha! After leaving, Lu Jun got Ding Yumian's contact information, and he had a strange look on his face. Dean Xiao is so mean, why does he give the feeling of picking up girls for orders? Illusion, definitely an illusion. But Ding Yumian is worth getting to know. For those who suffer from spiritual disasters, the future of the forbidden curse is certain, and there is no trouble in itself, and it is well hidden, so it is worth making friends in advance. Besides, if his gold system is exposed in the future, he will definitely confront the Holy City, which is above the magic association of the 5 continents. There are never too many allies. It is a pity that Ding Yumian ended up like that in the original timeline. Just imagine, if Qin Yuer and Ding Yumian in the original book were still alive, they would at least be comparable to an angel when they grew up. At that time, if he, Mo Fan, Mu Ningxie, Ding Yumian, and Qin Yuer have assembled a lineup, there is no need to compromise for the safety of human beings, and they will directly take away the ashes of the holy city and be the masters of their own. Ding Xiao probably meant the same thing. He is old now and won't live long. If Ding Yumian can win Ding Yumian a talented ally, there will be a lot of room for him to move in the future. Immediately Lu Jun hesitated for a while. He remembered the situation of the previous beast fighting contest, and decided to call Ding Yumian. Soon, he heard the phone connected, and a gentle female voice came out. Hello. Hello, who is it? Lu Jun was a little nervous, and after being silent, he said, I am Lu Jun, introduced by Ding Xiao. After finishing speaking, he really wanted to give himself a slap in the face. He said it, what kind of nonsense? On the other side, Ding Yumian didn't speak for a long time, and at the end she gave a pubba smile, and said with a pleasant laugh, okay, I know what's going on, just wait for me at the Ruxing coffee shop in the Pearl Green campus. I haven't apologized to you yet. Okay, Lu Jun sighed, we'll meet at the coffee shop like this. Not long after, he followed the school navigation and walked to the corner of the street. Under the umbrella of the coffee shop, a woman in a white dress was sitting elegantly sideways, with a pair of slender thighs close together, and the seams were tight. Under the skirt, there were looming calves, and her skin was fair. The temperament is gentle and noble. Not surprisingly, it was Ding Yumian. The boys at the tables around were all secretly watching, and some of them were still about to move. Hello. But when Lu Jun walked over and greeted Ding Yumian, the nearby boys seemed to be frightened, and they ran away one after another, leaving a large blank space, and the deterrent force was full. Before they left, they carefully took a group photo of the two of them sitting face to face, exclaimed secretly, and then excitedly opened the school forum. Stone hammer. Lu Rentu and Ding Yumian are good friends, they are dating offline. The post was published and caused heated discussions. At this time, Ding Yumian was frowning slightly, but she was keenly aware of the mood of the boys nearby, and she was a little uncomfortable, but when Lu Jun came, everyone retreated in fear, and couldn't help but smile. She teased slightly, it seems that your deterrence is really useful. Lu Jun was surprised, and opened the topic with a smile, I can't stand your charm. When the words fell, both of them blushed slightly. Strange, it was obviously just to say thank you, or to chat about the two sides' thoughts. How could it be the same as a blind date? In fact, talking about the deepest secrets of the two parties is quite a matter of life and death. Lu Jun sat down, took a deep breath, transmitted his voice through his mind, and changed the subject. What's your situation now? In fact, he knew it, but he couldn't show it and let the other party speak. Ding Yumian was slightly taken aback, staring at Lu Jun with a pair of good-looking eyes, hesitated for a while, and said with his telepathy, about the disaster victims, do you know? I know, Lu Jun said clearly, it turns out that you are a victim of a spiritual disaster. She smiled bitterly and said, you don't seem surprised. Lu Jun sighed, I've already guessed about that kind of spiritual potential. Aren't you afraid? Ding Yumian's smile remained the same, but it seemed to be very false. She was suffering in her heart. She deserved to go to hell for the mistakes she made out of control, and she was born with the original sin. In addition, she knew that she was doomed to be alone, and sooner or later she would be targeted by the International Association of Magic and executed, and even implicate any close friends. Afraid. Afraid of what? Lu Jun leaned slowly on the table, crossed his hands to support his chin, and said calmly. She whispered softly. For example, my loss of control can easily annihilate your soul. My spiritual magic is omnipotent. It can easily manipulate your thoughts and browse your memories. For example, the court of aliens under the rule of the Holy City hunts down. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.